Broadcasting from their world headquarters in Texas, it's the Arcade Repair Tips Live Show, the show that discusses arcade repair, restoration, news, and more. Now, here are your hosts, Tim and Jonathan.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to episode 40 of the Arcade Repair Tips Live Show for June 2020. My name is Jonathan Lee Young, the producer, director, and editor of the Arcade Repair Tips video series. And joining me today, as always, is Mr. Arcade Repair Tips himself, Tim Peterson. Tim, how are you doing this week?
I'm doing okay, John. Just getting ready to move one more week.
Right, and so a lot of people may notice that this is a Wednesday show, right? So we're doing this on Wednesday because Tim is literally in the middle of moving to his new house, and so his house is completely boxed up at this point, right?
Well, not completely, but we're getting there. We're getting close.
There you go. So, obviously, when is the official date, Tim, that you're going to be moving?
Wednesday, a week from today. We close and move in the same day.
Golly. Okay, so that's going to be really busy, obviously. So we wanted to give you a little break and just do it a day earlier, so that way you'd have a little bit more time to pack up, get everything moving, and all that kind of stuff. So hopefully this works well for you, Tim, and hopefully this works well for everybody else. What'd you say?
Landon's graduating from high school tomorrow night.
Oh,
They're
that's
actually
right.
holding graduation.
Well, congratulations to Landon as well. So that'll be another thing you got on your plate. It sounds like you've been pretty busy lately, Tim.
Yeah, I'm very busy.
Well, we appreciate you joining us this month, as always, Tim, and we appreciate everybody who's watching this, and thank you guys for joining us. And remember that you can join us in the live chat and leave your comments and questions there. So if you have anything that you would like to contribute to the show, please do that. I will be reading those off as we go. Tim, we've got a couple of guys here. Regzer Show is here. We also have YouTube Punk. He says hello there. We have the real Hammer Billy Lee is here, and of course, one of our YouTube moderators, Tim, Louie, is here as well. So we have a good group of guys with us tonight. And again, guys, remember that if you want to engage with us, please leave some comments in the live chat. Somebody says, congrats, Tim, and I think that's YouTube Punk on the house. And he says, how many rooms dedicated to arcade games, Tim?
Oh, it's going to be... I think I can probably get a couple. I don't know. We're going to see. My shop has actually got a lot of cabinets in it, which is very nice. And then Landon's going to have a gaming area over there with a little couch and his PlayStation and stuff. So I'll get one or two in there for sure.
Absolutely. Sounds good, Tim. Well, we're looking forward to seeing your new place, and we may even try to do a live show from there, maybe next month. If everything goes well, we'll just see how things are going. Hopefully by then you'll be somewhat unpacked. I don't know, if you're like me, it takes you like 6 to 8 months to get like fully unpacked. So, but hopefully you'll be somewhat unpacked. Maybe we can do a nice show over there or something. So we'll find out then. But we want to, again, Tim, thanks for being here. Thank you everybody for being here. We have a great selection of questions. And Tim, before we came on the air, we actually got some great news about arcades here in Texas that we'll talk about later in the show. So we'll get to that. Make sure you stay tuned for that news. And we're also going to be talking about something, Tim, that we've discovered that'll help people position their monitor picture better as well, right?
Yeah.
So we'll be covering that. And, of course, the Stern release of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Tim, is a big deal as well. And we'll be talking about that on this live show. So lots to get to, guys. So we want to thank you again for joining us. Now, Tim, I'm going to go ahead and check into the live chat before we move in with the questions. Headless Horseman is here, says congrats to Tim and Landon. So there you go, Tim. We have that. Hello, Tim and John. So that's from Headless Horseman. Hello, Headless Horseman. Danny says, hello, glad you guys are glad to see you guys again. Hopefully you guys are staying safe. And obviously, Tim, we're still separated, but I think this time it's probably less from COVID-19 and more just because you're so busy. It's kind of hard to get over here this month. So
more of a convenience today than anything.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, but anyway, we're all here. We're glad to be doing a live show for this month. And Tim, without further ado, let us get into the questions. So the first one here we have is from Martin. And Martin says, hey guys, I've been watching your repair tips videos on YouTube for a few years now. Wondering if you can help. I'm restoring a Tato Operation Wolf and the gun isn't registering shots on screen. I realize the barrel is missing off the end of the gun and I'm assuming the lens would have been inside the barrel. Have you any experience with Operation Wolf guns? Wondering if you can confirm this, and if the lens is a generic type you'd find in other light guns, like the Suzo Hap guns, etc., or if you know where I could get a replacement barrel and lens from. Kind regards, Martin. So, Tim, we have Martin here, and he's got an Operation Wolf arcade game. Now, Tim, a lot of people may mistake Operation Wolf for being a potentiometer-based gun, but I don't think that's the case, correct?
No, I don't think so. It does have a light-based...
like an optic sensor?
Kind of an optic sensor, if I remember right. It's been a long time since we've worked on one.
So what advice would you give to Martin on this one?
Yeah, even back in the day, I remember it seems like they had their own gun-specific parts that you had to like buy that gun part. So I don't think they're like the gun lenses and stuff. I don't think they're interchangeable. And the problem was for a while there, you could buy used ones real cheap. And so a lot of times people were just getting out party games, or you'd find them on eBay. Now they're really getting scarce. But fortunately, I know you got some information in the slide coming up. There is some guys that are wanting to reproduce them.
Yeah, that is correct, Tim.
And
Yeah, we did a little bit of research and actually found some people in the UK that want to reproduce them. So I'll go ahead and throw up the slide, Tim, since you mentioned that.
And they may be some people good to contact because they may sell the individual parts too.
Very true, Tim.
Like if he does just need a lens or something.
Right. So as far as we know here, Martin, unfortunately the lens on the Operation Wolf gun is not the same as what you'd find on the Suzo Hap guns, and we're not sure where to get a replacement at the moment. Now, you may try contacting Suzo Hap or Betson directly with your request and see if either of them have one available, Tim, because they're usually pretty good about helping you out with parts, correct?
Oh yeah, real helpful.
There you go. So there are some arcade collectors in the UK that are trying to get a replacement lens manufactured. You might chime in on this thread on the UK VAC, Tim, obviously the United Kingdom Video Arcade Collectors Forum, and let them know that you are interested. And Tim, we have a link to the forum forum post there on the Operation Wolf lens, and we also have a link to the game manual that actually shows the breakdown of the inside of the gun, which we thought may be helpful for Martin as well. But Tim, this forum post was just made maybe about a month ago, and it looks like these UK guys are trying to get one remanufactured, and if that's the case, I think it's really going to help Martin out, but not just Martin, Tim, it's going to help a lot of collectors out, right?
Oh yeah, because like I said, you used to find them all over the place. Now they're getting really scarce.
Exactly. So, I mean, we're not seeing them nearly as often as we used to. And again, it's a part, since it's an older game, that's not being carried by a lot of major parts distributors and manufacturers. So, probably best to check those two links out, Martin, and see if you can secure a lens from the guys that are trying to get one remanufactured, or even try contacting Suzo Hap or Betson to see if they have one around. We did also put those links down in the show notes section of this video, so make sure you go down there to actually see the links. But hopefully between them and Suzo Hap and Betson, somebody can help you find that replacement lens that'll get your Operation Wolf gun operating again. So Martin, hopefully that answers your question, and good luck with your Operation Wolf repair. So, Tim, I'm going to go ahead and go back over to the live chat real quick. YouTube says donations sent through PayPal, guys. Thank you so much, YouTube Punk. We always appreciate donations. And, guys, you can send your donations to arcaderepairtips.com/donate if you'd like to make a donation there. Or if you hit the little $ right underneath the little chat line on the live chat, you can donate that way as well. We'll take donations either way, but we do appreciate all donations, Tim, that we get to Arcade Repair Tips, and by donating, you're just telling us that we appreciate what you do and continue doing it, so we always appreciate that, right, Tim?
Yes, very much. Thank you.
Okay, and we also have a Headless Horseman who has a question, Tim, so let me go ahead and get to that. Hey, Tim, I have an arcade question for my friend. He just bought a Virtual Cop dedicated Sega cabinet. Can he put House of the Dead in this, or House of the Dead 2?
The Virtual Cop?
Yeah, so it's a Virtual Cop.
I mean, yeah, I mean, he can. We've never, it's like one of those things, if we've never done it before, I'm assuming that he can, but it's, it may take some work, maybe more trouble than it's worth.
Well, and one thing we know about, one thing we know about Sega, Tim, is that they tend to have different wiring harnesses for like every single game, and so I think it's probably possible, but you may have to do some rewiring to really get it working.
Yeah, I don't have what I'd look at is the pinouts and see how it's wired up. I'm not sure do they both use the same system? I don't know either.
I don't think so, because Virtual Cop was definitely earlier on than House of the Dead. House of the Dead has much better graphics, and so I'm thinking that the wiring harnesses are different. I mean, I think you can get them working, but it may take some rewiring. The guns, I think, may work between the two. That would be the one similarity, but there may be some rewiring on your part in order to get that working, and it'd take more research, like you said, Tim, to really know, because I'm not familiar with the harness on either one of those games, unfortunately. So.
Yeah, not offhand, but I would definitely say as long as the pinouts are pretty close, and maybe if you only have to switch a couple wires, it might not be that big a deal.
Right, and I know that I think House of the Dead may have been Naomi. So whereas Virtual Cop, I think, it ran on the same hardware platform as Virtual Racing and some of those early 3D Virtual Fighter, those early 3D games. So the platform's definitely different. And knowing Sega, a lot of times when they switch platforms, they also switch wiring. So I know that there's going to be a wiring change required. I don't know how much it's going to be, but you'd have to actually look at the individual pinouts for those games to see what kind of wiring change you'll have to make. But again, not off the top of my head, don't know Headless Horseman, but we can do some research, Tim, and probably find out more as well, right?
Yeah.
And if you do the research about the pinouts and everything, you could probably determine it yourself as well. So, but if you need additional help with that...
Yeah, for all we know, they may be a lot more similar than we know. We just don't know offhand.
That's true. And if you want to shoot us an email with that, just to remind us, Headless Horseman, at questions@arcaderepairtips.com, we can get back to you with, like I said, the differences. Because if you check the manuals, it'll be pretty clear what needs to be done as far as wiring is concerned in order to get it running. Right, Tim?
Yeah.
Sounds good. So hopefully that's the best answer we can come up with off the top of our heads. But if you need additional help, please email us at questions@arcaderepairtips.com. Okay, Tim, I think we're caught up to the live chat right now. So let us go ahead and move on in our questions. And the next one we have is from Patrick. So I'll put that up. Hey guys, I have an Arkanoid tournament arcade game from 1986. Recently, after a couple of minutes of gameplay, the screen will display a message that stating that a hardware check was taking place and a timer starts counting down. After the countdown, the game reboots at the beginning. I'm a complete novice and have no idea how to remedy this problem. Any information would be truly appreciated. Thank you, Patrick. So Tim, we have Patrick here, and he has an Arkanoid Tournament Edition, which is a little different from like the standard Arkanoid board. But this hardware check, if I remember correctly, is something that usually comes up when you start the board up initially, right?
Yeah, it should only come up for just a minute though, and then it's like, think of it like a computer starting to boot up. You see, if you had a little scroll bar, would be going across the screen or something. That's what just doing a hardware check, but then it's resetting because it's having some kind of issues there.
Right. So what do you think Patrick should do in order to resolve it?
Fortunately, anytime a game is not booting up or resetting, a lot of times that's just a power supply issue. It's not getting enough power. Sometimes if you'll check his voltages, you can just tweak it. It's not always a board repair, although that is a possibility and something that he may need to check into. But a lot of times, it's just not getting quite the power that it was enough to boot up. In other words.
Gotcha. Or when it gets booted, maybe when it's being played, that voltage is dropping below an acceptable level and resetting the board, something to that effect.
Yeah.
And so I'm with you there, Tim. Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and put up our slide that we have for it. So the hardware check should only come up when on the screen when the game is first powered on. When the countdown ends, the board should kick over to the attract mode and allow you to play the game. The fact that your board is doing it during gameplay may indicate an issue with your board or power supply, and like Tim mentioned, start off this repair by making sure that the power supply is getting good voltage to the board. Test the voltage at both places with a multimeter, and when we say both places, Tim, the power supply and the board, and then test it with a multimeter to ensure that it is correct. Check to make sure that all wires are connected properly, and see some of the tips in our post and video on inspecting an arcade board if the power supply tweaking does not fix the issue. Tim, it could be a processor issue on the main board. That's very common with resets and things like that.
It could be.
What were you going to say?
Yeah, I said it could be. That's as long as if his voltages are good, that's definitely the next thing to check.
Right, exactly. You got to move on to the board. But like I said, it's not, something is causing a reset. Tim, sometimes there's timer crystals or timer things on the board that can cause resets like this. Sometimes it's a processor issue. But at that point, you can try the inspecting an arcade board video and post that we have. But past that, you may have to have an oscilloscope and do some troubleshooting to really figure out what's going on, right?
I agree.
Sounds good. So, Patrick, hopefully answers your question. Let's start out with a power supply check just to make sure we're getting good voltage everywhere. And if that is good, if the voltage is good, may try some of the tips and tricks we talk about in inspecting an arcade board. But past that, you may have to do some checks on the processor on the main board or maybe some of the clocks that are on the main board to see if they are operating properly. So, hopefully answers your question, Patrick, and good luck with your Tournament Arkanoid arcade game. Okay, Tim, it looks... Oh, here we go. YouTube Punk says, what's the difference between regular Arkanoid and Tournament Edition? I don't know what the gameplay difference is. I know that they play very similar. I think there are some different power-ups in the Tournament Edition, perhaps.
Yeah, Yes, and different
So,
ones.
but I'm not sure what gameplay-wise, if there's really anything different between Tournament Arkanoid and Arkanoid. I think they're pretty much the same, maybe with some additional power-ups and maybe a tournament mode where you can, where you can have multiple people playing and it keeps track of scores or something to that effect. So, that was from YouTube Punk. Danny Ransom says, I was wondering if Madden Arcade was a PC, and if so, is it possible to build one and put it in a 4-player cabinet? I do believe that the Madden Arcade game was based on a PC. And Tim, there are some PC simulating software that can simulate some of the PC arcade games. And I don't know if Madden is on that list, but I have seen some PC simulators, which not emulators, but simulators that basically will allow your computer to simulate the computer hardware of the original game so that it will run. I've seen this with Mario Kart Arcade in particular. So Mario Kart GP, people have got that running on just regular computers. I don't know if that's possible with Madden or not, but if you do some research on PC simulation of arcade games, you can probably find out if Madden's in that list. It wouldn't surprise me one bit, but I'm pretty sure that it is based on PC hardware. So, and YouTube Punk says, pretty sure it's a PC too. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Regular Show just donated $5, Tim. He says, always thankful for the help. Question, my quarters keep getting stuck in my Bally Midway coin door about halfway down. Any suggestions, Tim?
In the door or in the mech?
Yeah, and you see, I think he's talking about the mech.
Okay. Well, you know that we did in a video before on adjusting a coin mech. So if you watch that, that may help. But there's a screw back there. Sometimes, believe it or not, a lot of times, mechs are really dirty. And think about coins in your pockets and stuff like that. And when they get really dirty, they won't let the coins slide through. A lot of times I would clean them with some WD-40, which is a cleaner, not a lubricant.
Right.
And that's a good cleaner to use there. And sometimes just a little cleaning. But a lot of times it needs just a tweaking on the adjustment. There's a screw right in the middle back there if you watch that video. And turning that will allow it to be wider. Or you have the wrong mech in there. You got it for like a token or something instead of a quarter or vice versa or something. But if it was working, it kind of started this randomly. A lot of times a really good cleaning. I know some guys, I don't like to use like 3-in-1 oil or something, but WD-40 to me works really good cleaning those mechs out. And I think we talk about in the video, Moss, MAAS cleaner also works really, really good.
Yeah, so Razor Show says he knows nothing about coin doors. So when you insert the coin, it goes into a little slot. That slot drops the coin into what we call the coin mech. And the coin mech verifies that the coin is the correct coin for the game and then drops it on the coin switch. And so you can remove the coin mech a lot of times. There's usually like a little either screw or a little latch that you can unlatch just to remove the middle section coin mech out. And so, Tim, if you're using like one of the old style mechanical ones, those tend, like Tim mentioned, to get jammed fairly frequently, need to be cleaned. We recommend Imanex. That's our favorite brand of coin mech. They're clean. They allow quarters to go through very easily. They don't jam very often. So if you're looking to replace it, you may look at an Imanex. If you just want it for home use and you don't care what coin it takes, there's also the Any Coin Mech, Tim, which we featured on our show before, which will basically let any coin fall through. So you've got a lot of options, but a lot of times just cleaning the coin mech, like Tim mentioned, will make it work 100% better, taking some WD-40 inside of there, kind of cleaning some of the inside parts. And Tim, sometimes you can have a coin jammed up in your mech that you need to do. And so the side panel is kind of like a hinge. You can actually take that side panel and hinge it, open it just like a car door to the left, and then it'll open up and you can take out all those coins and everything if there is something jammed up in there. So you do want to clean it, check for jams, and see if there's anything there, and then adjust it according to whatever coin you're trying to get it to take. Tim, obviously, most are going to take quarters or the .984 tokens, correct?
Yes, most of the time. And there's also a magnet in there, and a lot of times just whatever stuff's attached to coins, a lot of times little metal shavings will get built up on there, and that can cause some issues too. So you want to make sure your magnet is clean. And you'll also notice that American coins don't have much metal in them. And I've seen Canadian coins always get stuck in.
Yes, they do. we have experienced that. People putting Canadian quarters in mechs, it definitely jams it up. So Rexer Show hopefully answers your question. If you need additional help, just take a picture of your coin door, send it to us at questions@arcaderepairtips.com, and we can walk you through how to take it all apart. But we also have a video on adjusting a coin mech. Definitely want to check that one out as well. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Louis posted that Tournament Arkanoid is more of an upgrade than an actual sequel. The gameplay is 100% identical to the original, Tim. So for those who are wondering about Tournament Arkanoid compared to regular Arkanoid, they're pretty much the same. So let's see. We got Ito is here and says, "What's up, guys? Hello from Connecticut." So there you go. We got somebody there.
Hello.
Louis also posted a link to adjusting a coin mech there for your Rexer show, so you can see that to our video. So you can try that out. But if you need additional help, please let us know. Tim, for home use, I like the Any Coin mech, which we've talked about, which will literally take any coin, which is pretty cool. It's something that somebody 3D printed, but you can get them fairly cheap. And if you're just using it for home use anyway, it doesn't matter what kind of coin they throw in there, right?
Right.
So it's
kind of fun.
At that point, it's just like a bank. So
yeah.
But anyway, I think we're caught up on the live chat, Tim. So let us continue on in our live show outline with Nick. And Nick says, "Hey guys, love your site. I've learned a ton from you over the years. I was hoping you might be able to help me out. I have an NFL Blitz arcade game. I removed the control panel a few weeks ago to make room for moving some things around in my basement. I just installed the control panel back on, and every button works on the 4-player control panel except for the Player 2 action buttons. The Player 2 start button works, and so does every other button for players 1, 3, and 4. And so, except for the 3 action buttons for Player 2. So, Tim, Blitz uses a turbo, it's got one for tackle and throw and all that kind of stuff. So there's 3 action buttons there. He's saying those 3 are the ones that don't work for Player 2. I tried tinkering with it a bit, but I'm truly at a loss right now. Any advice, tips, or help would be greatly appreciated. Thanks, Nick." Okay, Tim, so we have Nick here, NFL Blitz, and he's got everything going. Oh, I think I lost him, guys. Tim! Hello, are you still there? Hello?
Froze up.
Oh, I got your audio, though.
Can you hear me, John? You froze up. I'm going to let you call me back in.
Okay, technical difficulties, guys. We got to wait.
Yeah,
Actually, you're still there, Tim. Can you hear me? Nope. Okay. We got to call him back, guys. Give me just a second. We'll see if we can get him back on the line. Technical difficulties. I know this is exciting, isn't it? Just calling Tim. I wonder if he lost audio. If he lost internet. Y'all just talk amongst yourselves in the live chat while we wait here. Hello? Oh, Tim is not online. Okay. Well, we'll give it a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and we'll go ahead and talk. I'll call Tim back here in a second. But guys, anytime that you're having issues with buttons not working or anything like that, you really want to trace it back to the wiring. And what happens in a lot of cases, especially with 4-player control panels, is that you have these connectors that go for each player. And so I think what's happening here in Nick's case is maybe the actual connector that he used to connect back the Player 2 action buttons maybe is not making quite the connection that he thinks it is. And so what he probably needs to do is do a continuity check just to make sure that it is making a continuity on both sides of the connector that he's got the Player 2 controls plugged into. And of course, you also need to do a continuity check all the way from the button to the harness as well. If you do that, then that should guarantee that the buttons are making a good connection to the board, which is very important. So, but anyway, I'm going to go ahead and throw the slide up here while we try to get Tim back on the line. So the fact that you have more than one button that's not working in the Player 2 section of the control panel makes us think that there may be an issue in the ground wire daisy chain that is connected to these buttons, which is something I didn't mention a second ago, but could also be the case. So using the continuity test on your multimeter, check to make sure that these buttons are properly connected to a ground. Also, make sure that the wires for each button are connected to the corresponding pins on the board. This includes checking the continuity on both sides of the plug-in connector for that section of the control panel, as it may not be making a good connection. And that's what I was talking about, guys. Those white Molex connectors, and typically in a game like Blitz, you've got one of those for each player. Or you've got 2 players that share one, for instance, but you want to make sure that that connection is being made on both sides of the connector, because that's a huge thing. If you're not making that connection on both sides of the connector, obviously you're going to have an issue with that. And so make sure that you check it on both, and don't just eye it. I know a lot of times we get in the habit of just eyeing something and saying, Okay, well, it looks good. It's good enough for me. But what you really want to do is you want to look at it and say, and take your continuity test. Make sure that the continuity is connected all the way through the connector, and then you should be in good shape. So hopefully, Nick, that answers your question, and good luck with your NFL Blitz arcade game. And I'm trying to get Tim back, guys, and no moss so far. So, okay, so you get to see his little Skype logo real quick. I'm checking here. He just texted me. Here we go. Let's see what we got. Oh, he's restarting his computer. Okay, he's coming back in, guys. While we're waiting on Tim, I am going to go ahead and look at the live chat here. Rusty is here. Hey, Rusty, what's up? We're going to be featuring Rusty here in just a little bit. He says, prettier video, LOL. You know, sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. It depends. But we're going to be playing an interview we did with Eric and Rusty here in a bit. And so you're going to check that out. Headless Horseman says, Tim turned into the Skype logo. That is correct. Let's see. Danny says, I've been working on my Golden Tee, and I have a Golden Tee Classic board. I had to use a computer monitor and converter to get it to make it VGA, but don't have sound. I was wondering maybe it is because, and it doesn't look like you finished that, Danny, but you got to remember that the sound runs directly from the board. So make sure that you have your speaker hooked up directly to the board. Sometimes in some boards you have to have an audio amplifier as well. And I think with Golden Tee you may need that. And so you may have to buy like a cheap audio amplifier in order to connect the wires up to that and then connect those wires up to your speaker. And so you may need to invest in a little cheap amp. And when I say cheap, like $20 or $15 or so, you can find them. And try amplifying it, see if that works. And also go into the test mode, of course, and the service mode for the board to make sure that the volume is turned up. Louis says probably had to reboot. I think he did. Oh, it looks like he's calling me back, guys. Hang on a second. We may be getting him. Okay, we'll see. Is Tim here? Hello, Tim. Hello.
Hey, am I back?
You're coming back slowly.
I don't know what happened.
Hey, there he is, guys. Check it out. Well, you obviously know that the show is live. That's all, that's all I got to say. We always, with technical difficulties there, but you are back, Tim. Nice to have you back. And I already finished up Nick's question, so you don't have to do that part. But okay. I'm in the live chat right now, and we've just had a couple of... We've had a couple of different things. Louis says, tell everybody about your shirt. So my shirt that I'm repping this month, Tim, is from Arcade Legacy, which is in Cincinnati, Ohio. They have a location also in Kentucky. But they're one of the arcades that we bought shirts from in order to support, obviously, all of the downtime that they've had due to COVID-19. And Tim, what are you wearing there? Oh, you got the Game Preserve shirt on.
Yeah.
Which we'll be playing. We'll play a video interview with Eric and Rusty that we did later in the show. So make sure you stay tuned for that. They're of course the host of our question and answer podcast, but they are also part of the ownership group of the Game Preserve. So we'll be playing that shortly here in the discussion portion of the live show. So Headless Horseman says, I hear some rumbling, sounds like a Harley rumbling. Maybe Tim decided to go for a ride. Maybe I don't know what that was, Headless Horseman. Maybe it's my air conditioner. I don't know.
Might have been my washer.
Yeah, YouTube Punk says his connection was glitchy to start. Yeah, your connection was a little glitchy. Are they playing Fortnite over there on your Xbox or something like that while you're doing the live show? Okay.
Now they're getting ready for graduation practice.
Oh, that's right. So. Rexer Show says, NFL Blitz is cool. That's awesome. I love NFL Blitz, Tim. I've got a Blitz Showtime sports station cabinet that is just absolutely cool. One of my favorite games, Tim, for sure.
Yeah. Cruising, right?
Yes.
It's our favorite play.
Yeah, exactly. So, Danny Ransom chimed in, Tim, about an issue he was having with the Golden Tee, saying he used a VGA monitor, but he's not getting sound. And he's saying here, I need to run the sound from the VGA converter. The sound, well, here's the deal, is that the sound doesn't go through the VGA converter. VGA is only for picture. The sound should be coming off of the main board, right, Tim?
Yeah, should come off your main.
Exactly. So you shouldn't have to run through the video converter. If you're trying to get to the speakers on the monitor, then again, you may have to have an audio amplifier that goes to a headphone jack, and then have a 3.5 millimeter male-to-male connection to go to the actual VGA monitor. If that's what you're trying to accomplish, that may be the way to do it. So, let's see. Headless Horseman says, hi, everyone. Don't forget to thumbs up the video to help these guys out. Thank you for that. Yes, of course. If you thumbs up the video, we'd really appreciate it. I don't always mention that, Tim, but, you know, it's one of those things. Louis said, or YouTube Punk says, reboot 3 times. So, did you reboot 3 times or just once?
Oh, it took a minute.
Okay, you just had like a little freeze up. I mean, to be
Yeah,
honest with you, that's the first flub we've had. So I thought, considering how many times we've done this now, that's not bad. Skype. I know they have outages and things like that, but for the most part, performing pretty admirably. So.
It's my internet, I'm sure.
Yeah, but that's okay. I think we can continue on now, right, Tim? We are caught up in the live chat, so we will move on to Keith's question, Tim. So let me go ahead and read that real quick. Hello, this might be a stupid question, but I cannot figure out how to check voltages on my Donkey Kong PP7B power supply. Any help would be appreciated. Thanks, Keith. Now, Tim, these Nintendo power supplies can sometimes be a little tricky to get all of the voltage checks on, correct?
Yeah, it's not a dumb question at all. In fact, it's been a while even since I've been in a Nintendo cabinet, so it would take me a minute to kind of figure out. Well, sometimes you can go by color wires, the colors of the wires, but you always can't. You can't always go by that. So, fortunately, though, that's exactly what I'm going to advise. Is exactly what I do. I'd probably look it up and see what the pinouts are, or you're going to mention it on the slide, John, about Ken Layton has a different types of, it talks about different power supplies and where to check it and all this stuff like that. So that's what I would use myself. I'd have to refer, or the manual, of course, but just knowing offhand, sometimes I don't feel bad. That's not a big deal. There's so many different types of games, especially Nintendo, can get kind of weird if you don't work on them a lot. I probably would remember and catch on pretty quick, but I would still probably use something as a reference to make sure.
Absolutely. And Tim, you mentioned Ken Layton's document. We're going to link to that here in a second. But the manual is always a great place to go in order to find pinouts and things like that. And the Donkey Kong manual actually does have all of these pinouts and what voltages should be where. But Ken Layton did a really good job of kind of breaking that information down for Nintendo cabinets. And I'm going to go ahead and put the slide up here, Tim. Ken Layton has created a document entitled Nintendo Video Game Power Supplies that has the different types of Nintendo arcade power supplies and their connector pinouts. This should help you with the process of checking voltages on your PP7B power supply. And Tim, I've got the link here, but the link is also down below in the show notes. And so if you want to click that, Keith, that will give you what each individual pin is and the voltage that should be at that pin, and that should help you tremendously in checking the voltage on your PP7B power supply in your Donkey Kong. And so, Tim, it doesn't just have the Donkey Kong power supply in that document, though. He's got basically every type of Nintendo power supply in the connectors and what the voltage should be at which pins. And so, very handy if you're going to be working on Nintendo cabinets at any point in the future.
Yeah, it's important to note that there is a lot of differences in different kinds, too. So a lot of them look the same, but they're not exactly the same either.
Right, exactly. So, but check out that document from Ken. Again, it's linked down below in the show notes and show description of this video, and it'll also be on the on our website under this live show episode. So make sure you check that out, Keith. And if you need additional help, please let us know. Okay, Tim, it looks like we got some activity over here in the live chat. We've got Luis says, hello from Brazil, Rio de Janeiro. I don't know what time it is in Brazil.
Wow.
I guess would that be closer to maybe East Coast time? Close. It's kind of on the same thing.
Closer.
Yeah, so...
closer to Germany time.
Brazil?
Or something.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's because it's up and down.
Yeah, I don't know.
Way down.
What time? Luis, let us know what time it is. I'm curious. So let's see what else we have here. Diego says... Diego has a two-part question here, Tim. He says, hello, my name is Diego, and I am using the Google Translator because I am Brazilian. So another Brazilian in here, Tim. He says, I have a question. I have my PC connected to a tube monitor by a JPAC. When I run the game that has lots of flashing lights, Metal Slug, for example, the monitor turns off. But games like Mortal Kombat, it doesn't happen. What can it be? Thank you. So, Tim, this, actually, Google Translate did a pretty good job on this. I'm kind of surprised. Yeah. But for Diogo, I thought it was Diego, is Diogo, Tim. What do you think's happening? It sounds like when he's got a really bright screen, the monitor tends to go into high voltage shutdown. But when he's playing darker games like Mortal Kombat, it's fine. So, what do you think's going on with Diogo's monitor?
Yeah, it sounds like he's having something in his high voltage circuit problem, like it probably needs to be rebuilt. What do you think, John? Because if you maybe if he just turned up the brightness a little bit, would that help?
Maybe. It could be that his B plus voltage is too low, and that could be due to either
That's
an
what I was
adjustment
thinking.
or it could be due to failed parts. I mean, it's hard to tell. And so the first thing you want to do on this Dialgo is probably check the B plus voltage to make sure it's dialed in properly. And whenever you have something that's going into high voltage shutdown, it's usually because, like I said, it's something somewhere along that high voltage line, something is dying, right? And so you definitely want to check all of the parts in the high voltage section, Tim, that we talk about in like our video on troubleshooting games that are playing blind. You also want to look for filter caps in the high voltage section, Tim, as you always talk about, because I mean those can obviously cause issues like this as well. So I mean, high voltage section is what we're going to say, because that what you're experiencing is high voltage shutdown. So
yeah, I said turn it up. I meant actually turn the brightness down some to see if that would help, but sounds like something's going to need to be rebuilt in there.
Yeah, and so, I mean, you could try a CapKit on this. Not sure it would work. What we would do is probably trace down from where the power comes into the monitor chassis and trace it all the way through to the flyback to make sure that all parts along that line are doing well. But that's going to be the only way to really solve the issue, because it's got to be a high voltage issue with the monitor. The question is, where's that located? It could be in capacitors. It could be in your hot. It could be in your flyback. Could be some issues in there. So, but your B plus voltage as well. Make sure that you're getting, make sure that's dialed in, because that'll happen if you have low B plus voltage and the screen gets really bright. That can cause your monitor to turn off all of a sudden. So if your B plus is too low, that could be the problem. So check your B plus voltage first, and then go through that high voltage line, see if there's anything else that may be failing. So. Danny says, I've got a Cruising World arcade and I have a bad board. I was wondering if there is a compatible driving boards for it. Tim, I think pretty much any of the Cruising series they're pretty standard across the board, correct?
Yeah, but the World, some of them use hard drives and stuff, so I don't know that you can just swap them with another one, because they all have their own I/O board too.
Gotcha.
And so I'm not sure really that any board would work. I mean, another JAMMA board would play in there if that's all it requires, but a lot of those games have separate boards or hard drives, so you're going to have to kind of do the whole thing. You can't. A lot of times it's not just the board.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, Tim. Those I/O boards sometimes are a little different between driving games, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's kind of the challenge that you're presented with the Cruising World. I mean, to be honest with you, I think the Cruising series may be okay across, like, you may be able to get them working, but I don't know if there's additional wiring or things that may have to change due to that. And you may still have to replace an I/O board depending. So I don't know if there's anything compatible with Cruising World other than just getting another Cruising World board set. Is that what you're saying, Tim?
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. So, just may have to do that. If the board's bad, though, you can also, I mean, you can either, you could get another one, or you could ship it off for repair, right? Is there any way you'd recommend for that kind of repair, Tim?
Offhand, I know that, most guys that, somebody on our page does a lot of that style of board.
Well, I know in the past, I was going to say in the past, who's the people that you, the people that you recommend? They're kind of expensive, but they do a good job. I can't even think. Eldorado.
Yeah, Eldorado Games could probably do it easily.
I mean, you used to have a Cruising at Chucky. Who'd you guys send off your boards to?
At the time, wow, the boards were pretty solid. I'm trying to think. I know we've sent one off before. It seems like we would just send them, Chucky always had the internals, like where they had games that were bad, or they taken off location, they would just go raw them. Some of ours was done internal, but it seems like I've had, I'm going to think of it here in a second. They're out of Florida. They do a lot of Golden Key stuff and things like that. I can't remember the name offhand, John. It's been about 15 years.
We'll let it come to you. If it comes to you, you can let us know.
But I know they do a lot of Golden Key boards. I'll try to look it up on my phone real quick.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, but I know Eldorado does repairs like that. And Tim, Cruising World, I don't know if that has the hard drive like you're talking about, but hard drive-based games will fail if the hard drive goes bad. And so it may be worth looking into a compact flash card upgrade for that if it does have a hard drive, because you'd be surprised how many times that the bad hard drive can lead to other issues. And so if it does have a hard drive, you may check it, or you may get the compact flash card kit and see if that works.
Okay.
Let's see what else we have here. Let's see. Oh, it says, Louis says Brazil's only 1 hour ahead of us. I told you, Tim. Eastern.
Oh,
so
okay. Well, I don't know nothing about geography. I'm from
There you
Texas.
go. Headless Horseman says,
I went to school.
here, I'm going to continue on. Headless Horseman says, I have a monitor issue I am having with my MK3 dedicated cabinet. It has a WeldGuard K7000 monitor chassis in it. I did recap the chassis when I first got it. However, there's an issue that happens when something is flashing on the screen. The edges of the screen kind of wave in and out. It only does this when something is blinking on the screen. Steady images don't cause it to happen. That's very interesting, Headless Horseman. What do you think, Tim? You got any ideas offhand?
I was looking up that, John, just to answer the first one. One place that we like to use was, because the chips are surface mounted. That's a lot of people can do board repairs, but they're not really set up for the surface mounted. And it looks like the website is adeservices.com.
Services?
adeservices.com.
Okay.
And it says right on their website, arcade repair services and PCB repair, fast turnaround time, and it lists a bunch of those games. I'm looking at it: Russia Rocks, Cruising USA, Cruising World, Cruising Exotica, Hydro Thunder, Rush the Rock. So Golden Tee Exchange Program. I knew they did a lot of Golden Tee boards. So anyway, ADE Services.
And Louis also posted a lot of links, Tim, to some repair places in the live chat as well. So you could try those. I Repair Sega's one. He mostly does Sega, but I bet he could tackle a Cruisin' as well. And a couple others. But ADE Services is the one you recommend, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. So, okay.
Now back to your question.
Yes, there's a K7000 that only when it gets a really bright screen do we get this little wave in and out on the sides. So it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen when it's dark. Only when it's bright. It looks like, or blinking.
Yeah, most of the time you get that hula effect.
Right.
It usually needs a caps. That's where you need to do the cap kit.
Now he said he did a recap when he first got it. However, but I don't know. I don't know how long that's been. That's a good question.
Right.
But if you did the recap when you first did it, it's probably okay. But there are some particular caps that are actually associated with that hula effect, and I can't think of what they are off the top of my head, Tim, unfortunately. So.
Me either. I know that we could probably look at the flow charts for it.
And I'm thinking that some of those caps are not included in a standard cap kit.
Yeah, maybe. Yes, he said tell you by.
So we'll have to look that one up, Headless Horseman. But it seems like there are some caps that are associated with the hula effect on the K7000, and there may be one or two that do not come in your standard cap kit, if I remember correctly. So I'll look that up. And if you want to shoot me an email on that, just to remind me, questions@arcaderepairtips.com to remind me, and I'll get that back to you, Headless Horseman. Like I said, that's not... Man, I wish I could remember it right now, but it's tough off the top of your head sometimes. But it does seem like there are some caps and maybe some other components are associated with that hula effect. Because it does sound like what Tim mentioned, it sounds like it's starting to hula. Maybe you're not getting the full effect yet, but you're getting it a little bit. And so that could be the start of those capacitors failing. And here's the deal, Tim. Sometimes you get bad capacitors in cap kits. That happens a lot. And so...
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. We went through a wave of that at Chuck E. Cheese. It's like, I know I redid this monitor 6 months ago or a year ago. Why am I having to redo it now? And then you remember we had that thing where it was talking about a lot of bad caps were coming from overseas during the 90s, early 2000s and stuff. So just even some of the caps we buy from trusted people, a lot of those caps have been sitting in a warehouse or something for a long time. So over time they do you can't always get fresh caps, I guess is the best way to say it.
Right, and so that it could be that you got a batch that may be failing at this point, and it may, even if it's been a couple of years since you did the cap kit, it could just be that one of the cap kits or caps in the bunch was bad. But shoot me an email, and I can, like I said, I'll look up all those components or those caps for you, and the other components that are associated with Hula, and we can get you fixed up. So. Diogo says, I am grateful for the answer. My wife translated, I am a fan of the channel and I really admire you. I am always following and dreaming how good it must be to work with it. I think he means games in general. So there you go, Tim. So let us continue on here. Oh, now Headless Horseman said the cap kit was a few years ago. So, yeah, so I do think that there's at least one cap that affects the Hula that doesn't come in the standard cap kit. So I'll look that up. And like I said, shoot me an email just to remind me, because Tim, sometimes I forget between now and when I'm supposed to think of something. So, But I think we're caught up on the live chat right now, Tim. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to our next question, and that is from Brad. And he says, "Good afternoon. I need help repairing a screen on a Golden T97 arcade game. I just received it. Everything worked the first time I powered it up. Then I went to move it from the wall, and now only lights and sound work. I get nothing on my screen. Any help you can give me will be great. Do you have someone that might be able to fix it? And generally, what is the rate to do this type of repair? Thank you for any help you can give, Brad." So, Tim, we have Brad here, and everything was working on his Golden T97 game, and then all of a sudden he moved it, which is like the cardinal sin of arcades.
We tell people all the time, don't move.
That's right, exactly. He moved it away from the wall, and now only lights and sound work. So he's not getting any picture on the screen. And so, what are some ideas here for Brad that you can tell him on his Golden T97 game?
Well, the fact that it happened right after that, we know that there's there's a short somewhere, or a cold solder joint. Those are some things that we talk about a lot, especially on his neck board. It could have just came loose a little bit. So you make sure that's plugged in good. Make sure all your other connectors, like your JAMMA harness and anything like that, or your main harness, I should say, is connected good and things, because any little movement sometimes will cause that. But most of the time, it's just simple that you have to turn the chassis over and touch up all those solder joints, especially where the video lines come in and so forth, because that's where any little cold solder joint can cause that.
Absolutely, Tim. And so that's what I'm going to recommend here too. And Tim, this is a Michael tip, is that anytime you get a chassis in for repair, touch up all the solder joints and make sure everything's making a good connection. Refresh all the connections on the monitors. So Tim, that's what we're going to go to first. The fact that it was working before you moved it means it's probably a short somewhere either in the wiring to the monitor or on the monitor chassis. Start off this repair by checking all the wires to go to the monitor chassis and make sure that they are connected properly. If all of the wires are making a good connection, remove the monitor chassis from your cabinet and start touching up any solder joints that may look cold, cracked, and or broken. If it still doesn't power on, check our post and video on troubleshooting games that are playing blind. Tim, you have anything else here for Brad? I think that pretty much runs the spectrum. Now, it's possible that a component failed in the move. I mean, that's kind of uncommon, but it's possible. And so he may have blown a fuse, he may have a busted hot, he may have a busted flyback, but the troubleshooting games that are playing blind video should help him on that, right?
Yeah.
So there we go. So hopefully answers your question. YouTube Punk says, has Brad tried moving it back? So, that's a good question. I don't know. YouTube Punk may try moving it back to where it was. Maybe that'll fix it. Tim, it's kind of like you talk about with the skee ball dance, right?
Right.
If only it were that simple sometimes. But anyway, Brad, hopefully answers your question, and good luck getting your Golden T97 back up and running. I really do think, Tim, in Brad's case, it is a connection somewhere or a cold solder joint. Very common in the case where you have a monitor just go out. So. Okay, Tim, well, that about wraps it up. We have kind of our questions from YouTube that we like to do, just kind of like a smattering of questions that we get from people. So we have 3 that we're going to do rapid fire like we normally do here at the end of the question portion of the show. So let's go ahead and talk about those, Tim. Now, the first one is from Fred, and Fred says, I have a Pac-Man game that quit giving credits. I think he means that. He put but that. No credits with coin or by pushing credit button inside cabinet. Any suggestions? Thank you. So that's the first one there, is that we have a Pac-Man game not giving credits from Fred. Christopher says, we have a Galaga game that's playing blind. We watched your YouTube video, but no luck on this. Any suggestions? And then we have Philip that says, great videos, a lot of skills shown all the time. Great job on the videos. I have a super sprint screen that won't stop scrolling. I recap the chassis, still 3 screens and not just 1. So Tim, we've got these 3 questions here from Fred, Christopher, and Philip, and we're going to take these one at a time. So let's go ahead and go to Fred's first. He has a Pac-Man game, Tim, that was giving credits and is no longer giving credits. What should Fred do to get the credits flowing again?
Well, your credit switch requires 2 wires, and what generally happens is just one of the wires comes either undone at where the switch is. I mean, we have seen a bad switch. You can take a meter and put on continuity and see if the switch beeps every time that you move it. You have 3 different plugs. You got a normally open, normally closed, and a common. And 2 of those should be hooked up, the normally open and the common. That way, as the switch is triggered. So sometimes it's just a loose wire at the switch itself. Now, if that's not the case, then it could actually be a bad switch, so you can check that with your meter. Or it's in the wiring from there all the way to your board. So you're going to have to use your meter, check your wire. More than likely, though, the fact that it started and it just quit, it's probably not a chip on the board. That's the most uncommon thing, although that is a slight possibility. I would definitely check my wiring first.
Sounds good. Now, Tim, the next one's from Christopher, and he has a Galaga that's playing blind, but he tried all the tips that we have in our video on troubleshooting games that are playing blind. So what more can Christopher try on his Galaga monitor?
Well, you know, we do go through just about everything that it could possibly be. But one thing we don't know is what kind of monitor does he actually have. That might help us a little bit more. But again, if you tried all the stuff, check your wiring, make sure your voltage is going up there, that you're getting 120 to your monitor, or 115, 110, you know, up in that range. And then I really don't know if he's tried all, you know, we replaced the hot, we replaced, we didn't do the flyback in that one, did we?
Yes, we did. We did the flyback, but I mean, the thing is that
we did literally everything it just about possibly could be, except for maybe some diodes or something. But we talked about that, I think. So what might help, though, if he'll write us back and tell us exactly which monitor he has, that would help some too.
Absolutely. And Tim, you know, I've had this happen before where a monitor's just blank, and all it was a cold solder joint on the high voltage line. I mean, sometimes it's as simple as that. So you can't always blame components, Tim. You have to make sure that those components are getting a good connection through to the rest of the board, and that's very important as well.
And we don't mention it often because it's so rare, but it has happened. He could have a short and bad tube.
Yes.
So we have on another video we have about checking a tube. He needs to make sure this tube is good, because you can have all the other chassis parts right. If you got a bad tube, it's not going to work. It's going to play blind just like that.
Exactly. And then Philip, Tim, was the last one here that we had, and he had a super sprint, and it won't stop scrolling. He's seeing 3 screens and not 1. He even recapped the chassis, still seeing the 3 screens. So what's going on with Philip's super sprint screen?
Well, the Super Sprint is the medium resolution, and anytime we see 3 identical screens like that, that's exactly, his resolution is probably off. He probably has a standard res chassis or monitor hooked up into what is supposed to be a medium res. So it's not going to ever look quite right if that's the case.
Now, some of these monitors, he may have ordered a tri-sync monitor, Tim, that has medium res support, but you have to make sure that that monitor is set to medium res mode, correct?
Exactly. Usually I'll have a switch on there, or you plug in one place for standard res and one place for medium res. He may just have it plugged in the wrong place.
Exactly. So that's definitely something to check, though, Philip, on that. So, Tim, with all that in mind, let me go ahead and show all of these different answers that you gave. Fred, make sure that the wiring between your credit switches, buttons, and the board is making a good connection. Use the continuity check on your meter. Make sure that it is actually making a good connection. Christopher, on your playing blind, you know, what monitor chassis is in your Galaga? Is it G07, K4600, K4900? Those are the common ones. But let us know. We'll try to help you out, because every monitor, Tim, has a little bit different power supply setup, correct?
Correct.
And so while we kind of give you the general overview and troubleshooting games that are playing blind, we're not very specific on the individual things, just kind of give you the general. And so if you want something more specific to your particular issue, let us know which model monitor chassis you have, and we'll try to help you out. And like we mentioned before, cannot be stated enough, touch up all the solder joints, make sure that you've got good connections, and check your B+ voltage. That way you'll know if you're getting high voltage. That's very important as well. Philip, make sure that you have a medium resolution monitor installed, just like Tim mentioned. Super Sprint is a medium resolution game, and Tim, the dead giveaway is when you see like three of a picture or something like that.
Right.
That does seem to be more of a sync issue than it does to be like a hold issue, for instance. Correct?
Exactly.
So, I mean, so the fact that you're getting the 3 images on the screen makes us think that maybe you have the wrong resolution on your game. It's possible that your game could be out of sync, but typically when we see out of sync, Tim, you can't see anything. You don't recognize anything on the screen, correct?
That is correct.
So the fact that you're getting kind of 3 identical images on the screen makes us think probably wrong resolution monitor. If you have a TriSync monitor that supports medium res, just make sure that that's a medium res too, and you should be good to go. So Tim, I think that covers all of those questions pretty much. Yeah, good.
Yeah.
I'm going to call that done. So we're about to get to your tech tip, but before we do, Tim, I'm going to check over here with the live chat. Danny asks, is there any place to buy a new Golden Tee wiring harness for my Golden Tee Classic board? Tim, I think the Classic board uses JAMMA, as far as I know. If it, I'm pretty sure it does for most of it. It may have a VGA out for video, but I'm pretty sure it's a JAMMA game. So if that's the case, you should just be able to get a JAMMA harness, and you're just going to have to wire it up.
Correct.
So, but if you're looking for a specific one, you may try contacting Incredible Technologies, Tim. They may be able to hook you up with a Golden Tee specific one, correct?
Yeah.
So Incredible Technology still in business, still making Golden Tee. What were you gonna say?
Yeah, we forget. You know that not everybody's out of business. I hope they're still in business through all this COVID stuff, but they were.
Yeah. Louis also posted a link to a Golden Tee wiring harness on eBay as well. So that's there. Let's see. Oh, Diogo wants to ask one more question. I want to set up an arcade with a Neo Geo plate. I have everything here, plate, tube, monitor, and isolation transformer, but I don't know how to install. So I assume by plate, Timmy, probably means board. I'm going to go with that. And so if you have the board, you're going to need a Neo Geo wiring harness. Neo Geo used a modified version of the JAMMA harness, and there are places who sell specifically a Neo Geo style JAMMA harness, or you can just order the JAMMA harness we recommend from Holland Computers and just make sure you wire it up according to the Neo Geo standard. So those are your 2 options. What you want is a Neo Geo JAMMA harness, or you want to wire up a JAMMA harness that has all of the wires filled that you can wire to the Neo Geo standard. So those are going to be the 2 options for you, Diogo. Try that out and let us know if you need additional help with that. Let's see. The isolation transformer, is he important? Can I ride without it? What would be the consequences? So the isolation transformer is very important, right, Tim?
Right. Well, it depends on your monitor, how new it is. Some of them now have built-in isolation transformers, but otherwise, if you plug it in and it needs one, it's not going to work. In fact, it's going to damage and probably hurt your monitor.
Yes, exactly.
Blow the fuse for sure.
Yeah, so, I mean, there's no harm in hooking it up, right, Tim? You can take a monitor that has an isolation transformer built on the board and use an external isolation transformer with it, and it still works, right? Yeah. But if you use a monitor that requires an isolation transformer and you don't hook it up, you're going to be replacing some diodes on your monitor chassis. Right. And that's from experience, right, Tim?
Yeah.
So there we go. So I think that covers that. Michael does say hello, Tim and Jonathan. So hello, Michael. How are you? Thanks for joining us. So I think that'll about do it for the live chat. So Tim, with that in mind, let us go ahead and get to your tech tip for this month, and I'll go ahead and let you take it from here. I'll put up the slide. So here we go.
Okay. Yeah, put up the slide, John. This is something that we saw, and we haven't bought one yet or used it, but it just seemed like a really cool thing. What it is, it's an image adjustment, monitor adjustment module for JAMMA boards. So if I understand this right, John, you plug the JAMMA board in there, and it allows you to make the image adjustments before the picture gets to the monitor.
Correct. And yeah, we haven't used one of these, but it seems like they've been popping up lately, Tim. And I kind of tossed it to you. I said, "Have you seen this?" And you're like, "No, it looks pretty cool. Let's talk about it." So they run about $50. But yeah, so what you do is you plug your JAMMA board into the harness end of this, and then you plug your JAMMA harness onto the pin end of this, and there's an on and off. That red button is the on and off on it, Tim. And then the other 2 are adjustment knobs for right and left and up and down. So you can kind of pre-adjust your signal coming from your board before it gets to the monitor.
Right.
Which may help, because, I mean, sometimes the monitor adjustments don't go as far as you want them to, right?
Yeah, or what I was really thinking, John, this would be great for like a test bench. You know, something to use, get your monitor on your test bench all lined up and stuff, because you swap out different boards and different things. Sometimes everything gets a little off, but I think this would be a great tool to have. And I thought $50 was a good price too.
Absolutely. I mean, considering what it is, and if anybody actually gives it a try, let us know how good it is. Because, I mean, Tim, like you said, we just started seeing this pop up recently, so it's not like it's been around very long. But for those of you guys who may be having trouble getting your JAMMA board image to dial in properly on your monitor, this may give you a little bit more leeway in your adjustment to where you're able to get that picture to fit perfectly on your screen. And so, again, it's not something we've personally tried, but I do think it's cool, right, Tim?
Yeah.
So, and we have the link down below. We also have it here on the slide, so you guys can check it out and let us know. So, anyway, Tim, anything else about your tech tip?
No, that's all.
Okay, sounds good. So there you go. That's Tim's tech tip, the image position adjustment module for JAMMA boards. And if you go to the AliExpress link, you'll see a little bit more information about it. But you can also see this image we posted over to the side where it actually shows the picture being shifted around based on this adjustment board. So pretty cool stuff, I think. Always new stuff coming out, Tim, it seems like. There's always new little arcade things and all sorts of stuff, so... Okay, Tim, well, the next thing we're getting to is the discussion section, and the first thing we get to is actually changed a little bit in the last, 3 hours?
Yeah, exactly.
It's all about a live show, people. That's what happens. And so I'll go ahead and put the slide up and read it to you guys, but there's a petition to Governor Abbott to establish arcade opening guidelines in Texas, and you can see the petition there. And I'll read the slide. As many of you know, we are based in Texas. Unfortunately, arcades across the state have not been allowed to open under the governor's current plan, and no timetable has been given for when they will be able to open again. Please consider signing this petition to encourage our state government to establish guidelines for arcades that will allow them to open back up in our state. Thank you. But Tim, what we found out just 3 hours ago is that arcades will be allowed to open a week from today at 50% capacity. So the petition worked. Thank you to everybody who signed it. But Tim, before we found this information out, we did an interview with Eric and Rusty from the Question and Answer podcast, where they actually discussed what they're doing in the midst of Governor Abbott basically not taking any action. And so, Tim, we recorded this about a week ago. But of course, they're going to, some of this information will have changed. Not too much of it, but now that we have the go-ahead to open the arcades here in the state. But here's the deal, Tim. They're open right now. So even though they're not technically allowed to open, they're open right now. And so in this interview, we just kind of talked to them about what that means to them and then just cover a couple other things. So now we did have some technical glitches, and there is a little bit of a delay between their video and their audio because, Tim, we're still trying to learn this whole Skype thing, if that wasn't evident already with the crash that we had earlier. But there are some little hiccups and things, but for the most part, the audio came out well, so you should be able to hear everything and enjoy it. But I'm going to go ahead and play that now, and then we'll come back and finish the rest of the discussion portion of the show. So here we go. Here's our interview with Eric and Rusty, who are the hosts of the Question and Answer podcast and also part of the ownership group of the Game Preserve in Houston, Texas. So enjoy this video, guys, and we'll see you on the other side. Well, hello, everybody, and we're really excited to have some special guests with us tonight for this interview portion of the live show. Of course, I've got Tim with me, as always, but we also have Rusty and Eric from the Question and Answer podcast here, and you guys may also know that they are part of the ownership group that owns the Game Preserve down in Houston, Texas. Now, there's some things that have been interesting about arcades here in Texas in that there really hasn't been any plan set forth by the governor as to when arcades can open, but there have been some arcades that have been opening anyway, and so that's what we're going to talk to them about right now. Eric and Rusty, how are you guys first of all? Are you safe? How are things going down in Houston?
Well, so far so good. And by the way, if you've listened to the podcast, you can match this face up to Eric. And this one.
Hey, this is Rusty.
I've been told I have a face for radio, so I don't know what they mean by that, but all has been well as far as personal life. I think you've been doing well as well.
Yeah, we've had a couple of. One of our owners has already had the COVID-19. He was already and we won't mention names just because we don't need to. But he has it. He recovered from it. Everything's good. But everybody's family's well. We're all good here. All our employees are really well. We're lucky. We're opening back up so we can pay our employees again.
So let's just start off with, what are you guys doing considering everything that's been going on during this difficult time? We know, obviously, that you guys were closed for a while, and we also know that you're open now. So just kind of give us an overview about everything that's gone on over the last 3 months or so that you kind of had to deal with all of the COVID-19 stuff.
Well, of course, this all started, mid-March, and everything was so much up in the air at that time. We knew that something was happening. Nobody really knew how severe it was. We were monitoring every day. Are we going to be able to stay open? Is it going to cause a problem? And ultimately, it was the county that said everybody shut down. And at that time, Harris County, our particular county. And at that time, we, maybe this is a week, maybe this is 2 weeks. Yeah. We had no idea how long this would happen, and it just kept going and going, and bills kept coming and coming and coming, and here we are some 60 days later, and I don't know that you can see behind us, but we are actually open now, open for business. And Rusty, do you want to expand on it anymore?
Yeah, one of the things that we wanted to make sure of, whenever they shut us down, we actually shut down in stages. This location in NASA is in Harris County, and our other location, the Woodlands, is in Montgomery County. So Harris County shut down first, and Montgomery County followed after that. And as Eric said, we didn't know how long, and what we did was we told our employees, well, we have to be closed. We're going to be closed for a while. But we kept everybody on payroll, and we kept our payroll full. And I told our employees, we will keep our payroll full as long as we can. And we did. We went through about a month and a half, and we applied for the Paycheck Protection Program loans. And we were hoping that we would get the loans in the first round. And when we didn't get the loans in the first round, we weren't able to get in time to get the loans in the first round. It was that point I had to furlough our employees. And that really just tore us up. We really didn't like that at all. And, but it didn't, we were just out of money. It just, and then when the second round started, we jumped back in. We were able to get in. We were able to get a small amount through that loan. And we then since have hired back, got all our staff back. And we're actually, two of our employees decided they didn't want to come back because of health concerns, which we perfectly understand. And so we're actually looking, one person we've already hired, the other person we're starting to look for people now. So we're back up, we're full swing, we're ready to go. We are open. We want people to come out and play.
Sounds great. And we're so glad that you guys are able to bring everybody back. That's really great. And we're also glad to hear that whoever the owner was that had the COVID-19, that they made a full recovery. And we know that most of the people are recovering from this. So it's just glad. We're just glad to know that whoever it was, they're back to normal at this point. Now, obviously, guys, we know a lot of arcades are in the same boat that you guys have been in, and it's really been difficult. And I know that you guys did some merchandise sales and some other sales. How did those go? Did those help you stay afloat during this period?
It went well. I don't know how well this is going to show up. I guess I could use my. Can you see it?
Yeah, we got it. We see it.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, so that is the friend of ours that did all the artwork for us for the building for both locations. Blake did this, and this is a kind of taking the theme of Dr. Mario, and you see the little COVID bad guy down here. Just what the doctor ordered. So we had the sales of that shirt, and it did very well. Now, of course, we're not going to discuss numbers as far as what our bills were versus what the t-shirt. Needless to say, the bills were really stacking up, and it was a lot of money. That as time goes by, it's so many things you don't really think about. It goes way beyond just rent. You have insurance payments, CPA pay. It just so much. So we were, big hole we were in. So the t-shirt sales helped out, and some of our members decided to keep paying their monthly dues, and that really helped out a lot. But once again, it's an enormous amount of money to keep something like this open. To keep two locations going. So that's why we had to open back up soon.
Yeah, that was my question, Eric. Although I understand, some of the listeners may not understand. Can you tell them how it works, how that people pay a monthly due? And how y'all normally get income? How does it work?
Sure. And as far as Rusty, you probably know these numbers immediately, so I'm going to pass this to you to say it.
Okay. So we we came up with the idea of making our arcade kind of like a gym membership. People pay on a monthly basis, and you can get in, you play all day long for $15. But if you can buy a membership, a single person can buy a membership for $35, and they can come all month long for $35, play as much as they want, and they get 5 guest passes. So they can bring 5 friends with them throughout the month. So it's a really good deal. It's less than $1 a day plus $5, plus guest passes, or a little more than $1 a day. My math sucks. I probably shouldn't be running this company. Anyway, the family, then we have a family membership, and a family membership is basically double everything for the individual. The family membership is $70 a month, and you get 10 guest passes. And families are so dynamic these days. What we consider a family is everybody that lives in the same household. So what's unique about our company is we trust all our customers. If they come in and said, these are all the people in my house, rock and roll. Those are all the people in your house. And that's how we pay it. And we also have reoccurring. And that's what we were talking about, how some of our membership left theirs on. You can buy 1 month for those numbers that I quoted, but you can actually put it on reoccurring where we just auto bill you. And it's only like $25 for an individual and $50 for a family. So it's very affordable. And we have had those same numbers for 6 years now. And we thought about trying to raise those numbers because of all this. And we've seen some places where people, add a COVID-19, upcharge and all that. We're not doing any of that. And we're not going to change our prices. We talked about that. We're not going to change our prices. We're going to keep everything just like it is because our members deserve that. And some of our members, like I said, even though we were closed, they still did it. We have the best members. They are so awesome.
That's really great to hear. I'm glad that you guys, some of the people continue to support you during this time. And, I have a good friend who owns a gym. And when this was all going down, he said, if you don't continue your fees, there may not be a gym when you get back, was kind of his thing. So, but I'm glad that you guys have been able to weather this storm so far. So, how do you guys feel about how the whole closing situation went down, and then now with the reopening? How does that feel being on your side of it? As far as having to close down, and then now with the reopening, especially since the reopening has been, faster here in Texas than in some places, but still kind of feels slow in comparison to where we were, 3 months ago. So,
yeah, well, it's a challenge, and there's a couple of challenges that we have here. First of all is the structure of, how really bad is this? How are you really contributing to it? Things of this nature. That's always, there's a lot of opinions out there. And right now that's mostly what we see is opinions. And, because hard facts are just hard to come by. But the biggest thing that we're trying to do is we try to conform to everything that the government has laid out for us, and thus being down for the 2 months. And whenever they started opening back up, we were listening to Governor Abbott's speech, and he said on one day, just before Memorial Day holiday, I think it was on a Monday, he gave his speech, and during his televised speech, he said that bars, entertainment venues, and all like venues would be open. So we were just excited. That's when I jumped out, grabbed my other business partner up in the Woodlands and said, let's go make a video. We are reopening, and away we went. And then the next day, the actual orders came out, and it opened up everything, but then started listing out arcades can't be open. Or if you have a restaurant with arcades in it, you have to close it off. Or a bar with arcades, you have to close off the arcades. And it's like, it didn't really make sense. Now maybe, and I want to question. I always question the government, but we try to comply, and looking at thinking, well, maybe what it is, it's about the touch and the surfaces. Maybe it's on the surfaces. So one of the things that we did when we opened up is we knew that we wanted to make sure that people are safe. We want to keep our people safe. So what we thought, well, if it's a surface and they're worried about touching things, maybe that's why it's about the arcades, is you've got to touch every machine that somebody else touched. What we do is we provide the disinfectant wipes. We went out, and they are hard to find, but we went out and found disinfectant wipes, and we have them stationed around the arcade. And we tell people when they come in, it's your choice. It's your personal choice as to whether you want to wear things, whether you don't. whether you want to wipe down the machines or not, but we've made the wipes available. If you feel like you need to, pull a wipe off the controls, then play the game. And then that way you know it's disinfected when you go to play. And also, as far as the personal space, you've got all these machines close to each other. You can't turn off every other machine. That doesn't make sense. So what we tell people is we said when they come in is we tell them, hey, just personal space. Everybody has the right to personal space. And if you want to play a game next to someone that's playing, simply ask them, hey, do you mind if I play this game or not? And if they say no, go play a different game, then come back. And you have the same right. If somebody comes up and asks you, hey, can I play this game? And you say no, you're not being rude. You're just keeping your personal space, and that's your personal choice. And that's where we really put a lot of emphasis on personal choice and personal space and people's freedom to do what they need to do.
Tim, do you have anything for him?
Oh, I just, our thoughts and prayers are with you guys. And of course, I lost my job at Gaddy's, and they reopened. The biggest arcade here in Tyler basically wrote the governor a letter about a month ago and said, I'm opening, come get me, and I know you guys didn't want to be that way. You didn't want to be like, but at the same time, I think as long as you're practicing social distancing and people are getting the wipes and you're doing all you can. But at some point, we all got to go back to work, and people play, and us gamers have to have games to play. It's I think when the kind of what Trump may have talked about, the risk, people even getting just depression and mental state. I think that we need to get somewhat open, and my fear is, and I want to get you guys' opinion on this. How will things change from now on? Do you think we'll ever go back to the way it was? Or will this always be, will you always have disinfectant water?
Really a tough question to answer. And as Rusty said previously, everybody's full of opinions, and nobody's right, nobody's wrong, or everybody's right and everybody's wrong, however you want to look at it. I don't know, Tim. If a vaccine comes out, I would think that everything's just going to be back as it would be. Perhaps. It's really tough to say what it's going to be. What we do know is that our attendance here, our customer count is not what we want it to be. Right. And is that going to slowly change over time? Will people just get so sick of being at home that they're going to come out? It's tough. But it has been a slow start, but we hope it starts picking up.
And I think, Tim, to get back to the point of your question, my personal opinion is in about 2-3 months, I think we're just going to be back like it was before. Because even if, as Eric said, even if they come out with a vaccine, we've got people out there that don't believe in vaccine. They're not going to take the vaccine. Right. So it's always going to be here. And we're always going to have this. The only reason we flattened the curve and we shut everything down was so that our medical facilities could be ready. Our medical facilities are not only, they are like at 38% capacity right now because they're not doing anything. They're way over ready. The ship that was sent to New York packed up and left because they didn't need it. Houston spent a huge amount of money putting up a pop-up hospital in the middle of the stadium parking lot. It stayed for about 2 weeks, had no patients, shut it all down, and left. What it did do was to prove that they had the ability to do that. So I think what's going to end up, for me, what I'd like to see happen is that everybody finally realizes, hey, this isn't as bad as they thought it was going to be. It's good that we flatten the curve. We know we're ready now. So let's all get back to normal. I hate the term the new normal. Right. I want just normal. There is no new normal. There's something different, or there's the normal. I want to stay the normal. So
kind of wrapping up here, there are a lot of arcades across the country that are still closed because they're in areas that are, obviously that don't have rules to allow them to open. And so from y'all's perspective of being closed for so long, now open back up, what advice would you give to the other arcade owners out there that are still trying to weather the closing and what to do to reopen?
Advice? Have more money. No, that it's everybody's situation as far as owners go is going to be unique, so it's really hard to say. But what I have noticed is other states. Every time I get on Facebook, and I'm in so many of the arcade groups, and a lot of places have reopened, and the ones that haven't are scheduled on within the next week or so. So if anything, when Texas was previously ahead of other states as far as reopening, now for our business, we're behind. So I think we're seeing probably half of the states have the ability, as far as arcades go, to reopen either now or very soon. So, but as far as how other arcades are going to deal with it, it's a product of money.
Yeah, and we did have I did have a gentleman call me from an arcade up in the northeast side of Texas, and he was concerned about how he was going to open and wanted to know how we were doing it. So we talked on the phone, and there was a couple of things that I told him, and the same thing that I told our guys here. Somebody comes up and shows up from some government entity that wants to shut me down. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fire up my Facebook Live. And then while I'm on Facebook Live, then I'm going to ask, okay, what is your name and who are you with and what are you trying to do? And I want them to make sure that they're not doing this in a vacuum, that we make it as publicly as we can. As public as we can. We want people to see what's going on and why we're being closed down. And then when they tell me they want me to be closed, I'm going to ask why, specifically. Why am I being closed? Just because somebody doesn't think we are? Or do you think we're being unsafe? Here's what we're doing. How are we more unsafe than others? Because they basically do have the rights. And basically the way they do that, it's a licensing issue. They can close down our occupancy, or they can take that license away. And I've talked to several police officers of different communities, and all of them told me that exact thing. This is a licensing issue, and we're not wanting to get involved in that. So I think the fear of being open is a little overrated, but doesn't mean they can't show up at my door. But if they do, we're going to make sure that the world sees what we're being told to do or not
Sounds.
do.
Well, it's just people are frustrated here, like the church I go to and things like that, because you go to Walmart and it's packed, and they're not practicing social distancing or anything. People are meeting out in parking lots and parks. As long as you're doing it safe, and it sounds like you guys are, you're doing a great job, by the way. So why not? And if anything, you're doing a service to the people who need to get out of the house and need to, like I said, if nothing else, for the mental stability. So we applaud you guys for your efforts and things, and we certainly hope that maybe by listening to this, people will get over the fear and come on out, know that you are cleaning things, and help you guys, support you guys by being there, and financially, of course.
Well, thank you for talking to us. And on a side note, do you have any arcade-related repair questions for us?
I think at this point in the live show, we will have answered them all, but we will have some for you if you guys want to do another podcast pretty soon. So are you up for that?
Oh, of course. Well, we actually have one half recorded from up here talking about many of the things we were just talking about. What we're going to add to it, and then we had a guest on here with us, but or do we do this the other way around? Do I get to ask you guys a arcade repair question?
And with that, we have to go. We'll see you guys later. Of course, if you want to, you can. But I think we probably need to wrap it up, guys, just because we're kind of running into that time. But we want to thank you for joining us, kind of telling us how things are going down in Houston. And we do look forward to hearing another podcast from you, hopefully very soon. But we're going to continue to wish you guys the best of luck with the Game Preserve, and hoping really soon that there's going to be more people there to play all of those wonderful games you guys have. I bought one of the shirts that Rusty's wearing, so I'm going to have to come down with my day pass and check it out at some point.
And are the shirts still available on the website?
They are still available. We had a mix-up on our shipping that the 2XLs, we sell a lot of 2XLs and 3XLs and 4XLs. I don't know what that says about the pinball guys, but
I was about to say, I bought Tim one. I didn't buy Tim. I bought the Dr. Mario one for me, but I bought Tim another one. Which one did I get you, Tim? I can't remember.
I don't remember.
Okay, yeah, it's here somewhere. I'll get it to you. But anyway, guys, we want to thank you for joining us, and we look forward to, like I said, hearing another podcast very soon. Take care, guys, and thanks for joining us tonight. Hey, bye.
Thanks, guys. Thanks.
Okay, Tim. Well, that was the interview with Eric and Rusty. Hopefully it came out okay, guys. Like I said, we had a couple of technical glitches, and we're still kind of working out some things. And I want to thank Rexer Show for giving us the tip to use maybe different software next time. We'll definitely try that. Just trying different things. And Tim, we kind of had to adapt on the fly because we've always done the live show here in at my house in the game room here, and so it was the first time we really had to do remote was when we had you, and now I'm like, well, let's try to bring somebody else in remote, and so it was more like we were kind of playing with the technology. So hopefully you guys got most of the interview in there, but we tried our best to get it all in there, but anyway, we're still playing with the tech, guys, so hopefully one of these days we'll get it down, right, Tim?
Yeah, one day.
Yeah, I don't know when, but it'll be someday, hopefully. So, but guys, we do have a couple other discussion things. But first off, I do want to thank Eric and Rusty for coming on the show and giving us an update on the Game Preserve, Tim. Obviously, it's a tough spot, but we did hear today, like I said, that our governor here in Texas is going to allow arcades to open at 50% capacity starting a week from today, which would be July 10th. And so we want to wish all of the arcades luck as they go and they start opening back up again. So hopefully they'll be able to restart their businesses and get everything rolling. Right, Tim?
Yep, it's on June 10th, John. You said July.
Oh, sorry, June 10th. You see, I'm trying to move things forward, Tim. I think it's already July. June 10th, yeah, so a week from today, like I mentioned. So there you go. But Rusty's here. Thank you for having us, Tim and Jonathan. Absolutely, anytime. And again, I want to reiterate that we want to see another question and answer podcast from Rusty and Eric very soon, right, Tim?
Yeah. Or we'd love to have them on here one night, too.
Absolutely. Maybe if we can get all this tech stuff down, we'll figure it out. But anyway, guys, it was an interesting talk with them and just what they're going through. And we know, Tim, there are a lot of arcades throughout this country that are going through tough times. There are a lot that are still not allowed to open. And just want to continue to support arcades where we can. And we'll talk a little bit more about that here in just a minute. So then, Tim, one of the other things that came up this month is that it is Pac-Man's 40th anniversary. So,
wow.
So yeah, Pac-Man. So, Pac-Man, the original video game star, celebrates 40th anniversary this year, and this is from Attractions Magazine. Tim, we have the link there. Pac-Man was born on May 22nd, 1980, and immediately rose in popularity, first in video game arcades and then in pop culture. Pac-Man was truly the first breakout superstar of our industry, said Ross Borden, Vice President of Marketing at Bandai Namco Entertainment America, Inc. While 2020 has been a trying year for everyone, we hope that fans embody Pac-Man's drive to always move forward, to never back down from adversity, and come out from any challenge on top. Tim, sounds just like Pac-Man, right?
Yeah,
so there you go. So Pac-Man's 40th anniversary. Happy 40th birthday, Pac-Man. And Tim, Namco Bandai is going to be doing a lot of different promotional things for the 40th anniversary. You'll see those things coming up soon. So... okay, let's see what else here. Tim, as we mentioned earlier in the show, and as many of you may know, Stern Pinball announced a new pinball machine, Tim, and it is based on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles television show, and it looks like the one, Tim, that I grew up with from the late 80s, early 90s. And so we're going to go ahead and throw up the slide here real quick. But you'll see here it says Stern Pinball announces new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles pinball machine, and you can go to sternpinball.com/game/TMNT to get all the details and to get better pictures than what we have here. But Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles began as a comic book, morphed into a hit animated show, and has grown into a beloved and iconic global pop culture phenomenon. The Pro, Premium, and Limited Edition models all feature distinct hand-drawn art, a high-speed magnetic spinning pizza disc, and Tim, I'm kind of fond of that because they have one of those in the Tron Premium. Which is really cool. I love the little spinning disc thing. It's got 3 flippers, 3 high-speed ramps, and a hidden ninja training ball lock area. The original 1987 theme music complements the action with custom video scenes and events created exclusively for this pinball experience. Tim, what do you think about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles pinball machine from Stern Pinball, just from what you've seen so far?
Well, it's kind of a remake because I like the other one, but I don't know, it's a kind of an interesting theme. I like it, but then again, I'm wondering how popular is it going to be at this point in time, is there a new movie coming out or something we don't know about yet?
I think the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles has a big following, Tim. I think if you look at the sales numbers for the Arcade 1-Up Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cabinet, you'd probably see that it sold fairly well. So, I mean, just considering the fond memories people have, and if you've got that arcade 1-up cabinet, what better to complement it than a nice pinball machine, even though the price difference is like 10 times the price or whatever it is. Still, it's not a bad compliment to it. So I think Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is still cool, Tim, after all these years. I think so.
Oh yeah, it'll be a fun pin. We'll definitely want to play it.
Hopefully we'll get a chance to play it at some point. Tim, I was looking forward to playing all these pinball machines we've talked about over like the last year at Texas Pinball Festival, but of course that didn't happen because it got canceled. And unfortunately, Tim, we have to announce the cancellation of another show that we've been to in the past, and that is the Southern Fried Gaming Expo. And so here's the little announcement from them. The Southern Fried Gaming Expo 2020 presses pause, and I put canceled in parentheses, due to COVID-19. And you guys can go to their website for more information, but this is basically what they said. It breaks our hearts to do so, but out of an abundance of caution, we have decided to cancel the 2020 Southern Fried Gaming Expo. We recognize that this is a trying time for many, but if you are at all able to support the show, please consider purchasing some of our t-shirts and other merch. Memberships will be transferred over to the 2021 show to be held June 11th through 13th. It's not game over for us yet, and you can show the show support by purchasing items from their store, Tim. You can go to store.southernfriedgamingexpo.com, pick up a shirt, or they've got other merchandise things that you can get there. Tim, I bought a shirt for me, so just to support them. And Tim, of course, that's run by our friends Shannon, Preston, and Patrick, among others. And so we just, just feel really bad for them. I know that it really stinks to have all this planning that goes into one of these shows just totally decimated because of something like COVID-19. So just please support them if you have the capability to. And you can go to Southern Fried Game Room Expo or store.southernfriedgamingexpo.com, purchase some merch, and help them out. And let's see what else I've got here, Tim. This is something, Tim, I should have announced this on the last live show, and I totally forgot. It was literally the day after the last live show, but I'm like, I'm going to go ahead and throw it on here. Tim, we celebrate our 12th anniversary on May 8th, 2020.
Wow.
So it's hard to believe. 12 years of arcade repair tips. Our first post and website went live on May 8th, 2008, and Tim, just want to throw a big thank you to all of you who have read our posts, watched our videos, bought our DVDs, listened to our podcast, and joined our live show audience. Arcade Repair Tips would have shut down long ago if it wasn't for your support. So thank all of you for the support that you've shown me and Tim over the years. It's been tremendous, and you guys are the best audience ever. So thank you for joining us in our little corner of the internet, right, Tim? And I do mean corner. Like, we're over here, like, I feel like I'm in timeout facing the wall half the time. That's our corner of the internet. Corner. But at least we have a piece of it, I guess. And so we're out there, and we're just glad that you guys have shown us support for 12 years. So great stuff, guys. Thank you again. And then, Tim, of course, something we've been pitching. We haven't gotten any videos in a while, but something I want to continue to pitch is that we always are looking for arcade-related videos. If you want some free advertising for your YouTube channel, we're looking for people to submit short videos, 10 minutes or less, about arcade-related topics. Send a link of your video to questions@arcaderepairtips.com, and our staff will review it. If we like it, we'll use it during one of our live show episodes. Make sure to put a plug-in for your channel so people will know where to find you. We look forward to your submissions. And just a reminder, guys, so if you have any arcade-related content on your channel, you can always, if you want to volunteer it for our channel, send it to us. We'll play it during one of the live shows and give some promotion to you. So, Tim, before I go on, though, something I should have asked you about. How do you feel about Pac-Man turning 40?
It's making me feel really old. It doesn't seem like it's been 40 years ago, because we talked about this a little before. I can remember that's probably not the first arcade game I played, but I definitely remember that summer when the arcades were really seeing a Pac-Man for the first time and playing it. I was definitely hooked. It was one of the first ones that I remember running over to the cashier and giving her $1 so she'd give me more quarters at the Safeway so I could go play it some more.
Absolutely. I mean, hey, it's a great game, Tim, and there's a reason why it's had the lasting impact that it has. So, I mean, just great stuff from Pac-Man. And Tim, I mean, hopefully 40 years from now, people will still be playing it. So
I think
so. As long as there's people like us keeping the arcade cabinets alive, right?
Hopefully
now,
so.
we did get a couple of 12-year congratulations, one from YouTube Punk, Headless Horseman. So there you go. Delusional's Arcade's here too, Tim. He says hi. So there you go.
Wow, Pac-Man wasn't even 30 years old when we started,
That's
John.
true. That's a good point. That's a good way to look at it, Tim. So he's gained a whole decade and 2 years, right? Haven't we all? Golly. So
Right.
anyway, I think we're okay. I think I'm caught up on the live chat. So Delusional says once my he has a God Plus Tim build is done, I will send you guys a recap. Cool. Yeah, send us a recap. We'd love to see it, Delusional. Delusional does great work. You guys should be checking out his YouTube channel for sure. And Tim, there are so many great arcade YouTube channels, Tim. I mean, we just can't even name them all if we tried. So please support arcade content creators because, guys, creating content for arcades is very difficult and doesn't pay very well. So it is what it is. So please support content creators of arcade stuff whenever you can, because it's very much a niche. Anybody who's doing it is doing it because they love it. So again, support all arcade content creators. So let's see. Okay, I think that's about it. So let's go ahead and do the contact information, Tim, here, and we'll go on to the after show. Guys, we want to remind you that you can send your emails to questions@arcaderepairtips.com, questions@arcaderepairtips.com. If you put live show in the subject, you will get it mentioned on the show. Again, that is questions@arcaderepairtips.com. And Tim, that goes directly to you and me. So, and we try to save ones for the live show, guys. So, whenever we get one in, even if it doesn't have live show, we try to save it for that a lot of times if we think it would be something that would be beneficial to a lot of people. So always looking forward to getting y'all's questions, though. Again, questions@arcaderepairtips.com. And then, guys, of course, we have our YouTube page at youtube.arcaderepairtips.com, and we try to cover the comments from the last show on the next episode. So, of course, a lot of you guys are watching this on YouTube, so you know where the YouTube page is. But for those of you who aren't, you can go to youtube.arcaderepairtips.com and watch there. And, of course, if you're listening to this on the podcast, you don't get the after show on the podcast, so you can go there to listen to the after show after this episode. And then we also have our podcast email. So if you guys want to tell Eric and Rusty how good an interview they were, please send them an email at podcast@arcaderepairtips.com that goes to Eric and Rusty. And please encourage them to put out a new episode very soon, because I know you guys want to hear it. I want to hear it too. So that's at podcast@arcaderepairtips.com for Eric and Rusty. And you can subscribe to them on iTunes at itunes.arcaderepairtips.com, and on Stitcher at stitcher.arcaderepairtips.com. Tim, we're on Spotify as well. If you go to if you just do a search for Spotify, you can find us there. And we just had a little glitch there. Sorry, guys. But Spotify, if you just do a search for Arcade Repair Tips, you'll find that there. So, but leave them a review, iTunes and Stitcher if you can, and tell them how good a job they're doing on the podcast. And then, Tim, we have our social media pages. We have the Facebook page at facebook.arcaderepairtips.com, facebook.arcaderepairtips.com. And we want to thank Louie, who's been in the live chat tonight with us, Tim. And we also want to thank Mark for all the contributions that they make to the page. Tim, Mark does most of our pinball coverage, and so we want to thank Mark for posting all the links to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That was a big deal this month, obviously. So thank you, Mark, for that. And thank you, Louie, for doing what you do on the Facebook page and moderating the live chat tonight. We want to thank Louie for...
Thank you, that really
Exactly.
helped.
We want to thank Louie for all of his help there. And Tim, we finally got the feed of the Twitter feed to where it is getting the information that was on the Facebook page as well. So if you'd rather follow us on Twitter instead of Facebook, you can at twitter.arcaderepairtips.com, twitter.arcaderepairtips.com if you guys want to follow us there. So Tim, that's about it. Headless Horseman has something. Jonathan, you should do a video sometime of your arcade games fired up and some gameplay. I could. We're not really a gameplay channel, Tim, right? I mean, we're more of a repair channel, but I mean, I always get requests for that, but it's almost like I'm too lazy to do it. I'm too lazy to do a lot of things. I'm sorry, guys. And I shouldn't say lazy, Tim. It's just that when you have 2 kids and you have a full-time job and you have other obligations, it's just hard to get everything done, right? But but Headless Horseman, we'll try. I will try. That's the best promise I can make you. We can try it sometime.
Maybe we can at least get the row behind you going.
I could turn it on. Actually, I had it on the other day. I mean, all the games in here are working. Some of them need maybe a little bit of tweaking here and there, but all the arcade games do work in here. It's just a matter of, like I said, some tweaks here and there. But I do have a whole row of arcade 1-ups here too that you can't see. But we've got quite a few games here in the game room, and it's always fun to play. And my daughter's here, and you've played all of them, right? So there you go. But anyway, so maybe I'll turn them on for the after show. I'll at least just turn them on.
Okay.
I mean, that way you can. You won't be able to see much because Tim's not here too, so we don't have all the space. But I may turn them on for the after show. So if you want to stay tuned for that, you can. But Tim, I think we're about done for the regular show. So what do we have coming up in the after show? Why don't you give us a little thing on that?
Well, we're gonna maybe do a little current events.
I think you're Skyping. Maybe there won't be an after show. There we go.
We're going to talk about the stock market. We'll talk about current events. Not much going on in sports, but probably some movies and shows we've been watching and how we're still coping with all this.
There you go. I'm going to have to reset you, Tim. It looks like I've only got like half your face. But we'll fix it here in a minute, and then we'll be back for the after show. But until then, guys, we want to thank you for joining us for the live show for this month. And remember it here, when you're here at Arcade Repair Tips, when you fix the game, you play the game. Take care, everybody. We'll either see you next month or in the after show. Take care. We'll see you soon.
Thank you for watching this episode of the Arcade Repair Tips live show. All of our past episodes are available on our website at arcaderepairtips.com or on our YouTube page. This show is intended for entertainment and educational purposes only. Please consult a professional before attempting to repair any coin-operated machines yourself. The preceding program is a Varcade Entertainment production.
Okay. Interesting.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to the after show for episode 40 of the live show. And we got Tim back. I know you guys saw all of the tweaking and everything, but Tim is actually back here. So, Tim, thanks for coming back.
You're welcome.
You had a little bit of a horizontal collapse there, Tim. I don't know if you noticed, but you couldn't see it on your end. You have no idea what I'm talking about. But some of the guys in the chat were making some good ones. Somebody was asking if anybody was streaming Netflix in your house.
No, shouldn't be.
Don't think so?
No, it's kind of quiet here right now.
Oh, there you go. I also have, that was Headless Horseman that said Tim is experiencing horizontal collapse. So there you go.
Yeah.
Let's see. Tim's laptop needs a new cap kit. Maybe that was it. That's from YouTube Punk. Tim's capacitors are Jiffy Pop. Oh, I lost you again. You're back down to a line, Tim. Can you say anything?
No. Yeah, I can hear you.
I can hear you too, but the video went wonky again. I think we're just going to have to roll with it, Tim. People are just not going to be able to see you.
Okay.
So
they can hear me.
They can hear you, but they cannot see you. We had it. We had it working, guys. This is technical difficulty. So at least you'll get the audio of Tim, even though you can't see him, and I can hear him. And it looks like your audio is coming through loud and clear, Tim.
Okay. Well, that's fine.
So there you go. You horizontal collapsed again. Golly, just who knows? But
cheap caps.
Well, cheap caps. That's right. That's what happens. You see, you buy the cheap stuff, guys. Never cheap out on the caps, right, Tim?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go ahead and go through some of the after show stuff. Like I said, they're just going to get a nice view of the game room over here. I'll put my hand over there just to represent you. Maybe I can do a little hand puppet. No? I don't know. But I can try to sync it up to your lips or something like that. I don't know. But anyway, at least they can hear you, Tim, so we'll go on from here. Now, Tim, I did want to see how people are doing with COVID-19 at this point, because I know a lot of you guys are having some, you may be in areas that are more restricted than we are. I don't know. It just depends. But, like we mentioned in the actual live show, Tim, Governor Abbott is easing the restrictions now on the on arcades and allowing them to open again, which is really great. And so, did I lose you, Tim?
Answer that one.
Oh, are you? Oh, try that one.
That one.
Hang on. I'm gonna. Oh, he's calling me twice. We'll try. Hey, we have you. You look like a little lion, though.
I'm still little?
Yeah, hang on a second. I might be able to fix it.
That's just my phone.
Okay. So it's hard to... I'm fixing stuff on the fly, right? Hey, there we go. Let's try that. Yeah, phone might work. It might work. It'll probably stop working here in a second. I got at least a little bit of you.
Okay.
Hey, there we go. That'll work. Okay. So Tim, like we were talking about, just wanted to see how people were doing as far as their COVID-19 restrictions wherever they're located. I know it's different depending on where you're at, and so some people may be under more strict rules than others. I know like the New York, New Jersey areas, Tim, are pretty rough right now. But obviously here though, Tim, it seems like things are mostly getting back to normal, right?
Yeah, for Governor now just announced we're in phase 3, started today. So for the most part. You see some people like wearing masks and things like that, but all those long lines at Home Depot and Lowe's are gone. A lot of people are eating inside now. It seems like that for the most part, our cases are way down. Almost none on most days, or none. So I think we're hopefully on the tail end of this.
Right, and I'm hoping so too, Tim. Obviously, I'm still being pretty cautious with where I go, trying to limit it as much as possible. But what about you, Tim? Have you been getting out a lot or not?
Well, we've had to some because of the move. We had to buy moving boxes, buy this. But really, I've been working a lot, which at work I wear a mask. And, I tell everybody, really, a restaurant should be the safest place you could go. If they're doing their proper cleaning, it should be the place the virus doesn't want to come. I mean, because we're sanitizing everything still. I think we're doing a pretty good job. I wipe as most I can, at least every 15, 20, maybe 30 minutes if it's really busy. I wipe everything that people touch, like the doorknobs and stuff like that, and wipe the restroom where they push on the doors. I think for the most part, here at least, we're doing okay.
Yeah, and Tim, we have a message from Seahorses at Night, and he says that in southern Missouri, it's not too bad either. So it seemed like in a lot of the Midwest, Tim, it seems like things are kind of getting back to normal. But I know on the West and East Coast, it seems like where we're seeing a lot of the the restrictions kind of being continued throughout the summer even. So, just I don't know where everybody is. YouTube Punk says he's still working at home. Supply runs once every other week. Yeah. I mean, for us, I'll probably pick up groceries like maybe once a week, twice a week, doing just a grocery pickup. I still go to work every day. That's me. Just like you, Tim. We're both going to work every day. But other than that, I mean, we're pretty much, pretty much locked down and haven't really gone anywhere.
What is weird, the last couple times I've been to, we have a Dollar General right near the house. So a lot of times I just go up there for like milk or whatever. The last 2 times they've actually had toilet paper on the shelves, which really almost looks strange. Paper towels. I even bought some Clorox wipes, or a knockoff brand, of course, the other day. So that kind of stuff really seems to be getting back. Not so much. They said they're getting tons every truck now. So they actually, even just seeing that stuff on the shelf seems weird now.
Yeah, I know. I mean, we haven't, to be honest with you, I'm still having problems finding Clorox wipes and things. I think I'm going to get a Lysol wipes delivery here in about a week or 2 because I have them on my subscribe and save for Amazon, but that's not guaranteed. So, I mean, that's been the hardest thing to find. Toilet paper, paper towels seem to be back on the shelves, but the Lysol Clorox wipes seem to be the toughest for sure. So, Headless Horseman says, doing okay. Wife was laid off a month or so ago. I work in real estate and was told I can work. Then I couldn't, but have been working from home. And so there you go, Tim. I mean, it sounds like everybody's kind of, some people are getting back to normal, but a lot of us are still, some people are still working from home. I guess it just depends on what you're doing, so.
Well, that's one area that's really hot right now. We can talk a little bit about it. As a real estate, our house actually sold in 5 days. So that thrust us into hurrying up and getting ready to move. But, it was on sale 4 years ago for several months, and we didn't even get an offer.
Right.
And now it's 4 days. So the interest rate's being down. And I think people that are like my wife being off work, it was a good time for us to move because she had a lot more time to do that. So I'm hoping that it's the same way there. I hope their real estate business is going good.
Yeah, I mean, with interest rates so low, Tim, I mean, I think real estate's going to continue to boom as long as those interest rates stay low. Because, I mean, it's just, I mean, at this point, it's like it's basically free money in a way. You're borrowing a lot of money, but you're doing it at such a low interest rate that, I mean, it's almost like paying no interest at all to a certain extent, so.
Yeah.
But now, Tim, we were talking stocks during the little break, and you had a breakout one this month. Not that we had our money invested in, but you had a breakout one, correct?
Yes, I had 2 actually. One is GNUS, which is Genius Industries or Services, something like that. They are do a cartoon called Rainbow Rangers that a lot of people evidently like, and they've signed on with Amazon Prime. I think they're going on Netflix. Nickelodeon, I think, is going to pick them up. And then they also signed for a toy line coming out in Walmart. So I knew that, and I bought some when they were about 30 cents. And, we say this all the time, take profit. That was a little over a month ago, and it was $8.80 just a few minutes ago when I checked. I sold way early, but I bought some more today, and so had a pretty good, in fact, maybe I'd have to check my records. Today may have been the highest day I've ever made in one day.
Wow, that's really good. So, and what was the other one that you hit that you had that was a big boom?
The other one is a really interesting stock, and I just completely drew a blank. What was the stock ticker name, John? It was.
Oh, you told me, and I can't remember now either. I can look it up real quick.
A complete blank, but anyway, it's a stock where they produce a software where it kind of looks like Predator, where it shows like you can scan a whole crowd, for instance, a baseball stadium, and it will light up people in red who are over 100
Remark
degrees.
Holdings, Mark, M-A-R-K.
M-A-R-K is the thing, and I knew that tomorrow they were going live in Vegas so that Vegas can open. Part of it's a little scary, John, but a part of it, I like the technology because let's say you got a huge concert, you can have a concert and see if there's 3 people sick, they got to go. And I don't want to be around a bunch of sick people. At the second hand, it's like but do I really want somebody just scanning and it almost seems like I don't know. It's a little bit of invasion, maybe. I don't know. How do you feel about it, John?
I mean, I think it's fine. I mean, I think it's a safety thing, really. Isn't that what it comes down to?
Right. If you're sick, you shouldn't be out anyway.
Right, exactly.
And I'm hoping one of the things, John, I think that is going to change for the better is I can guarantee you there's been a lot of times when, as a manager, I went to work, I didn't feel good, but I didn't have anybody to cover for.
Right.
Or I didn't have any sick days. And I think right now companies are finding it's better to find out that person's really sick, let them stay home, pay them, and let them come back when they feel better than it is for them to come to work because you won't pay them and then them give the flu to, or whatever to everybody else.
Right. Absolutely. But
especially ask any school teacher, when one kid gets it, the whole class gets it, then the next thing you know, the whole school has the flu, and I
mean, anybody who has little kids, I can tell you that too.
Yeah.
And they pick up germs from everybody and everywhere.
That is true. So hopefully some things will change where what my job is currently right now is I float around and go whatever store they need me. They can call me in a spur of moment. I'm always kind of an extra person to where they can send me to replace a manager anywhere from about an hour and a half's drive from here.
Right. So, I mean, to me, I think the technology is pretty cool. And YouTube Punk said, like, walking through a metal detector. I mean, kind of the same kind of thing, right?
It is very similar. And there's been a couple of companies out there that they said that worked, but when they really tested, it didn't seem to work. But this company in particular, they've had some really good results. Like I said, they're using them all over Vegas starting tomorrow. And I think they're getting a lot of national attention for that, because that means that if it works, we can have a football game before long,
sure,
or a baseball game.
Right.
And you scan the crowd, and everybody who's sick leaves, then the people who are well can stay and watch the game without having to social distance and wear a mask and all that.
Absolutely. So, I mean, anyway, it's gone up quite a bit. I mean, I was looking at it. It's had some up and down spikes, but it seems like lately it's definitely hit its stride, right?
Yes, I think so. And, of course, I was in when it was a little over $1, and I think it's about $3.50, $3.60 right now.
Nice. So there you go. And Tim, now you did also send me an article that I put on here. The U.S. Senate passed a bill to delist Chinese companies. And this is from CNBC. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I have mixed emotions there, because one thing I've made a lot of money off of stuff that over the last years, because Chinese stocks are hot stocks. Because number one, as we know before all this, we buy a lot of stuff from China.
Yep.
And a lot of it comes from there. And I think the push is going to be to buy more American, but those items are more expensive. So we're going to have to give up a little bit of our money, and maybe, I kind of compare it to the Harbor Freight tool or something versus Craftsman. If you want Craftsman, you have to pay a little bit more, but maybe in the long run, I don't know that we should totally block and kick out China and everything, because I think they do provide jobs, for some of the stuff that they provide. There are jobs here. A lot of people work at Walmart and stuff where they sell a lot of Chinese goods. Remember when Walmart was made in America? You don't see that sign on Walmart very much anymore.
Because
it's about the profit.
Right, exactly. Yeah, you can't, here in the United States, just cost of producing goods is higher, obviously. But, I'm with you. I think, there are some Chinese companies that I think are really good. But, Tim, there are some, too, that you have to wonder about. I wonder about Chinese telecom companies, because it seems like some of those have the government of China has a huge stake in. And so, if you're using a Chinese telecom company and you're a government, it seems like that may not be the smartest thing. You may have another person listening in on your phone calls. But, I think for the most part, though, there are some Chinese companies that are okay. But you do have to wonder about their ties to the government, too. So, and I think that's the biggest thing with the delisting.
We've all been on Facebook, and they will say something like, I'll say, man, I got this pain in my shoulder. And next thing you know, you got this Facebook ad saying, have shoulder pain? We got this medicine. I'm like, hold on a second. Who's listening to me? So I think we do have to be, and our national security, I think, when they're buying a lot of stuff in our companies.
Right.
So we need to protect our own and be careful. but at the same time, it is a global economy. And what's good for the global world oftentimes is good for our world.
Absolutely. So let's see. Seahorses of the Night says Pet Rocks. That was a good investment. There you go, Tim. Let's see. Danny says, do you think we want... Oh, we'll get to that in the sports section. I'll hold that off, Danny. YouTube Punk, I don't think Craftsman's made in the U.S. anymore. I don't think it is. It's Black & Decker or Stanley brand, right?
Yeah, probably.
So I think it's made in China just like everything else. But there's still varying degrees of what's made in China too, right, Tim?
That's true. And a lot of stuff we get from Mexico and other places, but it's amazing how much goods come from China. It's crazy.
There you go. So let's see what else we have on here. Oh, let's get to the sports talk. So Danny had a question. Do you think we will have NFL games this year? And Tim, I'll let you answer first. What do you think?
Yeah, NFL for sure. And I think we'll have some baseball just because of the way Phase 3 that's opening here, and I think other states will follow suit. I think that we're on the downhill part of the curve. The problem that I see is basketball. That's going to be a hard one. And how do they do it? Do they just have a tournament and the winner of the tournament wins the championship? Or I don't know how they're going to do it, but I can't see basketball. Did I say baseball?
Yeah, you said baseball first, but basketball, yes. So NFL, though, you're pretty confident in.
I'm pretty confident that by the time NFL doesn't start till September, I'll be almost shocked with the technology coming out. They'll scan people and make sure they don't have a temperature. You won't be allowed in. I don't know how they'd refund you, but, I'm sure that, think about it. If you bought a ticket to an NFL game, what's an average game seat cost? Maybe way over $100.
Oh, yeah, like $200 or $300.
And you're feeling a little bit bad, do you just go, oh, I'm going. I've been looking for this game, even though I feel like I got a little temperature? Or are they going to have some way where you can actually say, look, I really don't feel good, and maybe they refund your money? Some stuff like that's going to have to change. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So now, Tim, NHL, they had a big announcement about a return to play. Now, they didn't really give a date either, but they kind of had their plan. And basically what they're going to do is they're going to pick right up into the postseason whenever they start back. So the regular season for them is already over. But, a lot of these different organizations are targeting either like beginning of July, middle of July, something like that. But baseball, Tim, is probably the one that I am the least optimistic about at this point. It seems like they're the ones that are having the biggest contract dispute between the owners and the players.
That's the problem with baseball. It's not going to be a COVID deal. It's going to be about the number, because baseball players, I understand, are played by the number of games.
Right.
That's the way they get their TV revenue, and then the owners make it during the playoffs. So the owners are like, let's just have a short season and a playoff. And the players are like, no, we need to have a regular season, even if it runs a little over. So what? I don't know. I think it'll be more of a contract dispute there.
Absolutely. You can put your phone down on the laptop, Tim. I don't know if that will work better, like kind of against your screen or something. I know you're trying to hold it while we're doing all this. Now, hey, that looks pretty good. Perfect. So I don't want you to have to hold it because your arm will get tired if we continue on too much longer. So, but that works perfect. You look great. So, but okay. Yeah, and here's the deal, Tim. I am a huge baseball fan. I miss it like something awful. I have been watching Korean baseball organization games. That's how bad I miss baseball. But they got to figure this thing out because, I need to see play, but I want the players to get at least a fair share of what they're supposed to get, But here's the deal. The owners don't have people. They don't have people in the stands buying tickets. So, that's a ton of revenue that's being cut. They still have their TV revenue, but it's going to be difficult for the owners, I think, to break even considering they can't sell tickets. So,
right.
We'll see what happens, though.
It's got to be better than not playing at all, though. It's kind of like some places like Chuck E. Cheese are open, and you wonder, why are they even open? Because if without the arcades they're not making any money, I think some of it's just, you got to be open just to keep your name out there and keep people interested in you and let them know you care about the community or whatever it is, even at a loss. But I don't know how some places are. We've had a lot of restaurants here shut down recently.
Oh, yeah, we have. Now, Tim,
that aren't coming.
Yeah, something I didn't want to mention in the regular show, but I'm going to mention it here, is that there have been arcades that have been closed due to COVID-19. some of these arcades are in downtown areas where there's been rioting, and now they're having to board up their windows because they're worried about people breaking in and getting the games. There was one of the arcades in Atlanta, I can't remember the name of it, Tim, just posted a picture of their whole place boarded up. So not only have they not been able to open, Tim, but they also have to board up their place to keep people from stealing their stuff. That is super rough. And so, I mean, I hope that arcade can make it. But restaurants and arcades and all these places, I mean, it's been difficult for them throughout this whole thing. And, you know, I know MLB is a big deal to me, but, you know, in the grand scheme of things, baseball is not as important as some of these other small businesses that are really struggling to make it through. So.
Yeah, it's like one thing after another. You know, first we have the COVID, then we got the murder hornets, and there's an asteroid headed at us. I'm like, it's almost like, what part of Armageddon are we living in today?
That's right.
You know, it's like every day. I almost hate to watch the news, and we can just say this, John, that while we for sure don't, we're not going to take a side, I guess you could say, or anything, but we don't, whether it be police brutality or anything, we're just against violence, period.
Exactly.
And if that is against people of any color or anything, or, you know, even your own neighbor or something, I mean, it just doesn't make sense. And our thoughts and prayers are for those arcades. You know, you shouldn't have to worry about your business being looted or destroyed or set on fire, especially when you didn't do anything. Right. You know, and you're in it.
Exactly. And I want to give a huge shout out to those who are out there protesting peacefully, because, I mean, that's how our system works, Tim, is through peaceful protest. And, you know, if you have a point that you want to make, that's how you make it. But, you know, when you turn to violence, to me, it kind of negates your point a little bit, you know. And so, you know, especially when you're hurting other people, Tim, that really didn't even have a stake in it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, some of these small businesses that have been affected were just kind of innocent in this whole thing. And then before you know it, they're being looted and set on fire and stuff. But, Tim, with that said, I have seen many, 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 many more peaceful protesters than I've seen violent, just in the footage that I've been watching. But the thing about it is that the news wants sensationalism, and so they're going to cover the most violent things that they can find, and in a way, it's not fair to those who are out there trying to get their point across peacefully. So,
right.
So
you know, and they're just good people and bad people everywhere, and I'm one of those I'm always an optimist. I'm always trying to see the good in everybody, you know, and so. That's the thing. I think, John, that's one thing I like about arcade games. You know, when we look at people in the live chat, we don't know what they look like. Most of them, we just know them as a name or their screen name or something. We have this common thing. It's kind of like music in the 80s. You know, we all listen to the same station. And so I miss those days, but I hope that maybe some good – I always think that some good can come out of whatever.
Absolutely.
And if laws need to change or people need to change, even if I need to change, you know, I want to be a better person. Want our community. I want the place where Olivia grows up to go when she goes to college or whatever. I want it to be a peaceful place where she can go and not live in fear. And I wonder what it's like being a kid these days.
Absolutely.
You know?
With all the stuff going on, I think it's tough. But you know, it's just. It really is. I mean, you know, like you said, Tim, I mean, I think the thing about it is that let's just all be decent and kind to one another. I mean, regardless of, you know, what color skin or anything that we have that isn't in common, for instance. But, you know, Tim, you're talking about games bringing people together. You know, ESPN posted something that showed a guy just wheeling around a basketball goal in a downtown area with a sign that said, you know, basketball has always brought people together, so I'm wheeling around this basketball goal to bring people together. And basically, pickup games started in this downtown area between just random strangers because he was wheeling around this basketball goal. Maybe we need to wheel around some arcade games and do the same thing, right?
Maybe so.
So I mean, that
mobile,
you know, but that's the thing, Tim. Let us focus on the things that unite us and less on the things that divide us, and try to, you know, and here's the deal, Tim. Like you said, let's, you know, if let's try to make the best world for everybody. Let us, you know, if we need to change, then let's change, you know what I'm saying? Or if things need to change, let's have the discussion, is my point. You know, I mean, let's have the discussion. Let's sit down and do it. And I think that, you know, the problem is that when you have people who are being violent, it makes it hard to have the discussion, and that's the part that I lament the most about this whole thing. And like I said, I know it's probably a very small minority of the people that are out there doing that, but the news makes it look like it's everybody, which I think is unfair. So.
Well, the problem with a violent person, there's only one way to stop them, is more violence. You have to, if somebody's breaking in my house and coming to attack me, I don't negotiate with them, right? There's an answer to that, and it's not going to be good for them. But at the same time, that's not what I want to do. I don't want to hurt somebody. I want to talk to them. I want to understand why they feel angry or what's going on with them or what can we do to make things better. But if we can't have a conversation, that's the hard part. So hopefully when all this clears down a little bit, we'll have some real conversations.
I'm hoping so too, Tim, for sure. Let us go to lighter subject matters in that cord-cutting talk, Tim. I don't know if you saw or if you've signed up for it, but HBO Max launched, which unfortunately it's not available on Roku or Amazon Fire TV, which is strange. But HBO Max has a lot of the Warner Brothers content on it, along with some other things. Tim, are you even interested in HBO Max at all?
No, because I get HBO through Hulu subscription, so I don't think so. I don't think it'll be something, and it's just I barely have any TV time as it is, and I've got enough that I watch through my other channels.
Right, exactly.
But it's weird. Starting next week, I am going back to cable.
Oh, look at that! You've uncut the cord too. So you and me in the last year both uncut the cord, huh?
Well, I told them. I said, can you make me a similar deal to what I'm paying now and include cable? And for basically about $10 more a month than I'm paying for internet, I'm going to get cable back again with, DVR boxes, all that kind of good stuff. And then I'm going to have faster internet. So it's like, okay, I'm back into cable. I think they've had to come down, they've had to be price competitive.
Exactly, and that's what it comes down to. That's what people, you see, so you may have already cut the cord and you're thinking it's really great, and it may be really great, but here's the deal, your cable operator still wants your business. And so if you call them up and say, hey, I cut the cord a while back, but I'd really like to come back. You guys have any specials? You'd be surprised what they can work you into. So I'm glad to hear it, because I actually like our cable operator around here. I know a lot of people get frustrated with them, but they've been very solid and reliable for me. So.
Well, if you add what we're playing for Sling, Hulu, Netflix,
exactly.
Internet, all of a sudden, I'm going to save about $50 a month now. So
there you go.
Why not?
Now, another thing, Tim, is I actually increased my internet speed because they sent me a promotional price. And so we've had the most technical difficulties they've ever had, but my internet's faster than ever, which is funny. So, we did. So I'm at the 1 gigabit speed, which I'm very excited about. And I'm not getting quite that. I'm getting like 800 megabit per second. Close enough. So close enough. But it's good stuff. Now, about HBO Max, I'm going to get that free, Tim. Okay. Because of my, I rebundled my wireless plan with AT&T, and it now includes HBO Max. So I will report back on what I think about it. One of the shows that I watched on DC Universe when I had it was called Doom Patrol. I was a big fan of that, if you remember back a couple of live shows. Yeah. And so they're going to have Doom Patrol Season 2 coming up on HBO Max, so I'm excited about that. And a couple of the other shows on there. So my plan officially switches over on the 9th of this month. So once the 9th comes, I'll have HBO Max, and I'll report back to you next month on how it went. So. Seahorses at Night says maybe the Major League will lower the mound and juice the ball again. Home run city, baby. So there you go. I guess one could hope, but we'll see. I'm kind of a purist when it comes to baseball. I mean, look, I don't mind some of the rule changes and things, but I guess because it's been around for 100 plus years, Tim, you kind of get used to something, right?
Yeah.
It's even hard for me to go back and watch old games where they don't have instant replay now. Because it's like, you could have gotten that right. Don't you understand? So, but anyway. Tim, let's go ahead and let's start to wrap it up here with the movies and TV shows we've been watching. And Tim, you had quite a few, and it looks like you stole some from my list last month. Tell me about that.
Yeah, that's what I did. You recommended them, so I went and watched them.
There you go. So what'd you watch?
The first one I watched was McMillions.
Okay, and for those who don't know, that's about the McDonald's Monopoly game scam, basically fraud that occurred over multiple years.
And it was very, very well done. It was funny at times, serious at times, almost scary at times. You're like, wow, you kind of thinking the mafia is involved and all this stuff. And then, but it was just a great story, and it really it's pretty long too. So it kind of gave me something to do for a week.
Now, you also watched Framing John DeLorean, which I talked about last time, which was a documentary with, what's his name, Alec Baldwin and John DeLorean.
Yeah.
What'd you think about it?
Well, I guess there's a lot more to the story than I ever knew. Because, at the time I was pretty young, and I heard of it, but I hadn't really knew all the facts or kind of and I thought it did a pretty good job of it didn't make him out like a saint, but it didn't make him out like the devil either.
Exactly.
And I think it did a good job probably portraying him probably as he really was. And everybody makes mistakes. And unfortunately, he really had to pay for his.
Yeah. And I think that's really... I think a good documentary, Tim, helps you see both sides. It doesn't demonize anybody, and it doesn't make them seem like the best thing in the world. It really does. We'll talk about documentaries that make people seem like the best thing in the world here in a minute. But for the most part, I think that it did a good job of towing the line and giving you a kind of an honest look at who John DeLorean was. So, dude, and a brilliant guy. We should say that. Very smart. And knew the steps, knew what the public wanted before they even knew they wanted it, which I think is pretty neat. But eventually just kind of took a big risk on a big dream and ended up in big trouble. Is that a good way to say it?
Right.
So
that's a great way to say it.
Now, you texted me just today and said you'd been watching Filthy Rich on Netflix. Tell me about that, because I have no idea what that is.
You don't know what that is? That is the Jeffrey Epstein story.
Oh, wow.
Which, you read all the... you read all the memes, he didn't kill himself and all this. And I really expected it to be about what happened to him in jail kind of deal. It may get to that. I haven't got there yet, but it really goes into who he was, how he became so rich, and some really unscrupulous things, why he was in trouble in the beginning. So it's a very interesting documentary. You definitely wouldn't want to watch it around your children. But just how, we've never had that kind of money, John, or that kind of problems. But, I understand, like one police department that was basically in charge, and they did eventually prosecute him. He also gave them $100,000 for new riot vests.
Oh, golly.
It's like, put yourself in that policeman's shoes. And I know he did it on purpose. So money really does affect a lot of things. Why being filthy rich, we don't know the kind of rich that this guy was. He owned an island, and famous people that he had on the island. You've heard some of those stories, I'm sure. And he really did have a problem, a sexual addiction for younger girls. And I think he was willing to do just about anything and pay just about anything to do that. Now, it still hadn't got to him in jail. I think that I definitely think he had a black book on a lot of people that were scared of what he would say. But anyway, it's a pretty, if you look at how the events in his life that led up to that point and how he got all of his money, one was basically a Ponzi scheme on Wall Street. And just the stuff that he kind of got away with just because he was rich. I could understand how some people, I've never had that kind of money, to get away with much of anything. But
well, there you go.
So interesting. If you'd like to learn more about that, I would definitely recommend it.
Okay, sounds good. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to save your last one because I watched it too, and we're going to save that until the end here. But I've got a couple here. Seahorses at Night says those DeLorean cars were turkeys. They were. But there is a DeLorean Motor Company still in Houston, Tim, that continues to build and work on DeLorean cars if you have one. So they're still around.
If one thing that the documentary showed is he really had to cut corners there at the end. They never really finished.
Right.
They didn't get all the bugs worked out. But I thought at the time, it really was ahead of its time, but really not ready for it either. So it was kind of crazy.
Yeah, I mean, hey, look at the Teslas now. Look at the Cybertruck. Tell me that's not an ancestor to the DeLorean. So,
right.
But anyway, Seahorses at Night also says Clinton flew about 20 times on the the Lolita Express, no Secret Service at times.
Yeah, plenty of times.
There you go. Let's see. So let me go ahead and I'll just run through mine real quick. So if you're looking for more documentaries on Hulu, we mentioned Framing John DeLorean, but I'm also going to recommend Mike Wallace is Here. Mike Wallace, most of you guys may know, is a reporter who was on 60 Minutes for years. And his son, of course, Chris Wallace, is an anchor for Fox News. But Mike Wallace, Tim, probably the first beat down the door investigative journalist that I remember in my lifetime, and just interviewed amazing people and wasn't afraid to ask the hard questions. And so Mike Wallace was kind of the prototype for so many different news anchors that we have nowadays. Without Mike Wallace, I don't think we'd have journalists asking the tough questions that they do today without him. So, it's a very interesting documentary, and it basically tells his life through his interviews. And so if you're interested in journalism or Mike Wallace at all, you should watch it. Tim, I watched The Last Dance about the 97-98 Bulls team, and also, of course, mostly about Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman. It is fantastic. It's 10 hours long or something like that, because it's 10 episodes at 40 minutes each or something. But the whole thing's worth watching. You can watch them all on ESPN.com. Just log in with your cable operator. You can watch them. So, Tim, if you want to watch that, especially being a basketball fan like you are, I would highly recommend it. It is fantastic. So, and they get interviews with everybody. So Steve Kerr, Stockton, Malone, poor Utah Jazz fans having to relive those two finals back to back again. I'm sorry, guys, but it's a great documentary if you're looking for something to watch. If you're like me, you grew up in the '90s watching the '90s Bulls, then you gotta see it, right? I mean, it's great stuff. Tim, I also watched the 30 for 30 they had after that about Lance Armstrong. And boy, that guy is the hero of his own story, boy. Not really meaning to... I don't think he did anything wrong, or he doesn't think he did anything wrong. Let me put it like that. I think he did something wrong, but he doesn't think he did anything wrong for the most part. So he's an ends justify the means guy, Tim.
I see.
So, but it's very interesting to hear his point of view. But they also interview people who accused him of, doing the doping and stuff like that. And it's very interesting to see kind of their point of view on everything as well. So, I mean, it's fairly balanced. I think it still probably slightly favors Lance, but it's still an interesting take on a guy who, I mean, no matter what you think about him, Tim, he is an interesting guy. I will say that. I mean, you can love him, hate him, but he's interesting. So... let's see. I've been watching Magic for Humans on Netflix, which is really great. There's 3 seasons of it now. 3rd season just dropped, and it's just a really fun watch if you like magic. And he, the guy who does those, he just does magic on the street to people basically, and tries to explain how humans act and think through magic, which is really cool. Let's see. Stargirl on the CW. Me and my wife have been watching that. It's our superhero CW show. It's good. The Unicorn, Tim, if you want something that's going to make you laugh. The Unicorn is a sitcom that was on CBS. 1st season's already over. 2nd season's already picked up. It's about a guy who's widowed. His wife died, and how his friends kind of help him get through it in a very funny way. So if you're looking for something funny to watch, The Unicorn on CBS is really great. So I think, is that everything? Dark Side of the Ring on Vice, which is about kind of the dark side of some pro wrestling stories. If you're into that, that's good too. So, okay. Am I done? I think I'm done. Okay, Tim, so let's get to the one that you told me about and then I ended up watching, and that is Family Man, Family Murderer, the Chris Watts story. And this was on ID Network, right?
Right.
So you go first.
Well, basically the story, and this is not any spoiler, a guy kills his wife and his children. And it's about kind of and then he tried to cover it up and tried to say a lot of different things. And you guys might remember it, Jonathan, it kind of cued your memory when I said he buried them out near an oil field and put his daughters actually in the oil tank. And so, it just amazing some of these stories and how they caught him, how that they unraveled the mystery, I guess, of what actually happened to her. And, then he finally, this confession of how he did it.
So here's the deal. I watched it, and I wish I hadn't.
Right.
The last 10 minutes where he tells exactly how he did it, Tim, I was bawling. I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
I even thinking about it now, I don't know if I can hold it together. It was terrible. And I don't know how a human being can do that.
No.
I mean,
And like I said, me and my wife say all the time, a divorce is not an option, but murder, just be careful what you say, because and it makes you wonder why they didn't just get a divorce.
Right.
If you couldn't get along, why couldn't you do? I've been through one, Jonathan. It's way better than murdering somebody.
Right.
Although it's not recommended.
And they say it in the documentary, Tim, that he bottled it up. That was the problem. He bottled up his anger. And when it came out fierce. And look, that is no excuse by any means. This is an intolerable act that nobody should ever do to anybody. But I mean, that's the only explanation, even partial explanation that we have, is he snapped, literally snapped. And like you said, he could have easily gone the normal route, just gotten a divorce, moved on with his life. But something snapped in him, and he did this deed. And Tim, it is awful, awful.
Right. And if you got a problem with your wife, what's it got to do with your kids? I don't understand. That's the part of me. And I know that's what the part that you're saying the last 10 minutes was so hard to watch. Gosh, it just makes you.
And I should clear that up. The last 10 minutes is Tim mentioned his confession. That is his confession. And guys, I mean, no, Tim, I was crying. I mean, now. I mean, I'm thinking about it. I mean, I can't imagine anybody doing that to anyone. And
so, like I said, I'd heard of the story, but to hear it from his own words and to see the real clips and the reenactments and stuff that, I didn't really know the story. And so that's what those ID shows are really good. They're true crime stuff, which, I like a lot. But
I do too. But that one, I think I would have been better off not knowing. And I hate to say that because it was super interesting. I mean, up to the confession part, I really liked it because I think it really gave it. It like you said, they got they got all of the footage from from the neighbor next door. They got the footage, the police officer cam. They got, they got all of this footage from the actual event and played it during the documentary, which I thought was great, because it you actually got to see everything. But golly, like I said, that just shut it off after the first 40 minutes. Don't watch the last part, please. I'm begging you. It's.
If that doesn't tug on your heartstrings, you're heartless.
Yeah, it's awful. What he did was awful. There's no other way to say it. And I can't imagine. I can't even put myself in that place because there is no way. I just don't understand how you get that far. Like you said, Tim, there are alternatives. There are alternatives. You can get the divorce, move on with your life. You'll be fine. But for some reason, this dude just couldn't do that. So, but I hate to leave on a downer. You got anything happy to talk about? You should watch The Unicorn. Everybody should watch The Unicorn. It's happy. Even though it's about him, he lost his wife and he's raising two girls by himself, like the main character. It's still funny. So his friends try to help him out, and that's the funniest part. So now, Tim, things are depressing enough. I don't need more depression in my life. You know what I'm saying?
I'm sorry I told you about that.
No, it was good. I'm glad. Look, I'm glad you told me about it, but it's just, man, that last part was just so rough. Ah, golly. So watch with caution. Turn it off after the first 40 minutes. So.
Now they're going to have to watch this out of curiosity.
I know, and you can log in if you go to the ID. I forget what the. Is it Investigation Discovery is the name of the network ID. If you go to their website, you can watch it. You just log in with your cable account or your streaming account. You can watch it. But yeah, it was sad. So, but anyway, if you watch, The Last Dance was really good, Tim. If, like I said, if you're a basketball fan, you should definitely watch it. Tim's a diehard basketball fan, and so I know Tim, you got to watch it. ESPN, just log in and do it. So it's good. But anything else you want to talk about, Tim, before we head out? Obviously, if it's the end of the world and we're not here next month, we hope everybody had a great life. So if that asteroid hits us or something else happens in the meantime, then,
We're over here in chapter 5 of Revelation, I think, or whatever.
How many of the seals at this point, Tim? Are we on 6 or 7? I'm not sure. So
maybe we should have listened to David Koresh more or something. I don't know.
Maybe. But golly, guys, this, at the end of 2019, I was toasting a glass on New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, and saying, man, I'm glad 2019's over. If I only knew what I knew now, Tim, I may have taken 2019 back. So
2020 is like my beer. Watch this.
Exactly.
Halfway over, you know what? Or it's just now halfway over. But honestly, you know, our listeners, we mention this occasionally, John, but we really do care about our listeners. And, you know, maybe you are, you know, I look at it, it seems like I've went through a job change, but I'm buying a new house that's going to have a shop. I mean, there's a lot of good things, but boy, it has been one hurdle after another just getting to that point. But if you're going through something that you really don't think that you can handle, we're always here to listen to you. We're good listeners. We don't have to just talk about games. We talk about whatever. If you know, John, you can mention our site that they can
life
go
at
to
arcaderepairtips.com. If you send an email there, life at arcaderepairtips.com. That is the official email for just talking. You don't have to send arcade questions there. Arcade questions can go to questions at arcaderepairtips.com. But if you're going through some struggles and just need somebody to listen, then you can send those to life at arcaderepairtips.com, and we'll be happy to listen. Like Tim said, you know, it's a tough time for everybody right now. And you know, Tim, I will say that if you need to talk to somebody, I mean, we'll be happy to listen. But if you need professional help, Tim, there's also counselors who can do remote now, which works really well. And, you know, our friend Stan, I don't know if he's doing that, but he does a lot of counseling and things like that. And I know that, you know, I think he has been doing some of the remote stuff from home. So, I mean, we are good at listening, but if you really do need counselors, there is help out there for you if you need somebody to talk through some of your issues, for sure. So,
by all means, get help. Don't just be the tough guy, or, you know, or think that you can battle this alone, or think that you are alone. We're kind of all in this together. And so whatever you're going through, whether it be financial or just stress at work or whatever, trust me, we've been there. And, you know, we would love to help you in any way that we can, even if it's just a listening ear or whatever we could do. Or just to let you know, you're not alone. We're not, you know, we're all kind of struggling and fighting this thing together. But we still live in, I think, in a great time to be alive with the technology and the games. You know, I think about, we could be in the 1700s fighting the Black Plague and no arcade games, right?
That is true. So, for sure. But I'm with you, Tim. We do live in a good time. And, you know, it's rough right now for a lot of us. But, you know, just hang in there. I do feel like Tim mentioned that things are going to get better. But if you need somebody to talk to or help, we're here, live at arcaderepairtips.com. Or you may also contact a counselor or somebody, you know, that you can talk to as well through that. So, Tim, anything else before you head up? I will mention that Headless Horseman just donated $20. That's a high note to leave on right there, Tim. So,
thank you.
So the guy says, thanks for all you guys do. Stay safe and look forward to the next show. Thanks for helping with my questions. Tim, the next show I think will be July 2nd, right?
Yeah, we'll probably try to do it then. And like I said, maybe we can even do it from my new house, or if not, if we do it remotely, I'll be able to show everybody around a little bit.
Sounds good. So, well, hopefully we'll see you guys on July 2nd. That'll be just 2 days before July 4th, Independence Day holiday. So, but have a great June. And again, if you guys need anything, you know, contact us at arcaderepairtips.com, either live at arcaderepairtips.com or questions at arcaderepairtips.com. And hopefully we'll see you next month right here for the next live show. Take care, everybody. Have a great night. Be safe. And hope to see you then. Bye, everybody.